Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, Season 2, Episode 40. That's right, we got to the big 4-0. That's always exciting. We have a couple of topics for you today. You guys can also submit your own questions or topics to be talked about later in the stream if you want. That's what Super Chats are for. They will be saved and shown at the appropriate time if you guys want to get your questions submitted in during our live show. That being said, how you guys doing? I'm Nathaniel Robojazz from Nintendo Prime. We're going to go around the room, introduce ourselves, and go, what have we been playing lately? It's how we start every single episode, and we got to start with Detective Pikachu Stan. How you doing, bud?
All right, well, obviously, if someone spells something slightly incorrectly, if someone has a low IQ, they can't figure it out. They can't sound it out. It's supposed to say Detective Pikachu Stan. I'm starting with what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've only really played one game this week, and I mentioned I was playing it last week. Pikmin 1. I'm at the very last area, so I'm about to beat it and move on to Pikmin 2.
Cool. That's awesome, man. Andres Restart, aka Someday. What do you got going on over there?
I just fetched myself a glass of water and some zebra cakes.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When you hit the 5-minute timer and I sat there for 30 seconds, like, you know what? Maybe I should make myself a shake. It was like, oh yeah, I could get it done in 3 minutes. I put like a 3.5-minute timer, and so I took out some blueberries. I took out some strawberries. I bought them yesterday. I was like, all right, this time I'm going to make sure I do it while they're fresh instead of waiting a week. And
Yeah, wait till they're bad. Yeah.
Right. But the strawberries, as I started to pull out the strawberries, I saw that they were all moldy. It was like, so I just tossed. I didn't toss them. I put them back in the fridge. I figured I could return them because that's just ridiculous. So I was like, all right, I guess it's just going to be blueberries. So then I started pouring almond milk. And I was like, all right, cool. So I got the blueberries, got the almond milk. And then I saw I had 30 seconds left. And I was like, oh, I'll put this in the fridge for now. I'll leave it in the picture. And then I showed up here after you went. Actually, I wanted to bolt in, but the alarm, my timer was going off. And it's like, oh, I don't think I muted my mic. So here I am. And I still haven't told you what I've been playing this week.
That was a dope story. Could you actually tell that again? Do you think you have
Sure. So basically, I decided that it would be possible to make a shake that would probably take me 10 to 15
All right,
minutes.
what have you been playing? Keep it clean.
So I'm opening up this zebra cake. But beyond, what did I play this week? I've this may sound kind of very samey, but I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. I'm getting close, and it's funny. The more I play the game, the more I kind of appreciate the game. Like my appreciation for the game always grows. And it's kind of just like this interesting. Like part of me wants to just accept that Tears of the Kingdom is like the greatest game ever made, but there's parts of me are like, no, no. But also, when I played Breath of the Wild, I didn't want to tell myself that Breath of the Wild is the greatest game ever made. It took me 6 years to decide that Breath of the Wild is my favorite. So I'm gonna wait 6 years, and then we'll see where I stand on it. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm getting through it. I'm discovering things. It's always fun finding new little areas every time I play. So
Now, you
cool.
say you're enjoying it more the more you play it, and I know that you still like Breath of the Wild more in a lot of ways. Is it distancing itself from Breath of the Wild as you play more?
I think the part of the problem is that Breath of the Wild was very new. It was very new, and there was kind of like as you explore, like even though there's less in the world, like literally, Tears of the Kingdom has so much more. There's just something about Breath of the Wild than when I played it. I'm thinking about like that first time I played it, right? The first time you play the game, it's always different than all the other times. And there's this sense of discovery, right? There's this sense of you don't know what's quite beyond the hill. You don't know what's on top of the cliff, right? Like there's always a little bit of that. And in Tears of the Kingdom, there are a lot of really cool things, but it's mostly things that are remixed in some way, shape, or form. If that makes sense, right? So I guess what I'm getting at here is that Tears of the Kingdom is kind of battling sequelitis, like it's battling it hard, and it's trying to, like it's hard for me to at this point just clearly state that it's the better game because while objectively it has more things you can do, a lot more things, and I think they handled story better, and then there's a lot of things that they objectively handled better, but because it's kind of like a remixing of that base game, there's a certain freshness that it lacks, which makes it hard for me to like be like, yeah, this is a straight up like the best experience without a doubt. There's still new things, fun things to explore and discover, but it's it's a little bit of that. But like I said, I think when it comes down to sort of deciding like what is like the GOAT or what puts a game in like the pantheon of gaming greats, it's how they age. So we can't really have a fair conversation about just how good this game is, in my opinion, until we come back to it, say 5 years from now.
Okay.
Thanks for
Fair
coming.
enough. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
Yeah,
everyone's
that's
got their different reasons or different ways they want to handle that sort of
Eric,
stuff.
Yeah.
keep it short, okay? We don't have all day.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
TOTK, they're done. Okay, good enough.
Well, I mean, you kept it short.
Yeah.
I'll be even shorter.
Oh, what did you even say, Eric? Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah, TOTK, yeah.
Literally, he kept
just
it literally
TOTK.
as short as he could.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That was,
I
that
don't
was
know
a
at all.
little long for my taste, but
Yeah, right.
I appreciate the effort.
I'm even shorter. I played nothing. Literally nothing the last week. I shouldn't say literally. Technically, I played some Madden, but pretty much nothing because I've just had a very, very rough couple of weeks. It is what it is. It's all catching up. So you figure escape to video games, except I don't have time to escape to video games. So life happens.
Try zebra cakes.
I'm
Ooh,
not part of my
I
diet.
could-
Sorry,
I could
man.
Go for a zebra cake right now.
Dude, I'd plow that whole box if you put it in front of me.
There is that.
They're not very filling. They just taste really good.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Nate, did you notice I corrected the spelling?
No. I'm gonna be completely honest. The monitor is too small. I can't read. That's a lie. just throw that out there.
I was
first part of it's a lie.
I was gonna tell you what it says.
I'd say keeping it clean. That's what I'm seeing right now. Keeping it clean.
Yeah, it's censored, so it is keeping it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. So let's get into our look, it's not really part of the show, part of the rundown, but I guess it can be part of the quick news recap. Detective Pikachu comes out tomorrow. Detective Pikachu returns or Friday. Sorry. Keep getting confused because Assassin's Creed comes out tomorrow. Detective Pikachu comes out Friday. This month is packed. There's so many damn games coming out. The reviews, not good. Kind of sucks. So the first game actually was pretty good. This game, everyone's like, oh, it's charming. It's nice. Then we get to the actual detective part and they're like, okay, this is pretty bad. The whole point of the game. So,
Ooh. Yeah, you said it was bad. It's worse.
Oh,
than what you said
what
it
is it
was.
now?
68.
It's a 68. Okay.
Based on 37 reviews.
And how many are
Oh,
mixed?
come on. I need one critic to bump it up 1 point.
Right?
Well, how many of the reviews are mixed?
26, so 70%.
70% of the reviews are mixed, which means, usually under 70.
One person gave it 100.
There we go.
I mean,
There's our perfect score, baby. By the way,
and that's why
reviews
it's
are
actually probably
subjective.
higher.
Guys, reviews are subjective.
Yeah.
Some of you guys are going to buy Detective Pikachu Returns and absolutely love the hell out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's just the way it goes. So,
Ooh, that's a lot of 60s.
anyway,
Aye.
hey, technically, it's a passing grade.
Yeah.
It's a D, baby.
Yep.
A D
Yeah,
is a pass.
and honestly, like 6 out of 10, at least when I rank a game 6 out of 10, there's enjoyment to be had. There's plenty of Metacritic 6 out of 10 games that I've played and enjoyed. But you're going to go into it knowing it's not going to be like a mind-blowing experience, like not a game of the year contender, but you can still have fun with a game like that.
Well, this is the way I look at it, especially if you're a multi-console owner. Even if you just own Switch, there's a lot of games coming out this month that are probably better than this one. So when you're allocating money, you probably might buy like other stuff like Sonic Superstars and Mario Wonder. What a great
Is
combo
this
to get.
a $50 game or is it
Switch.
60?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll tell you in a second.
I'm not buying it. So hey, the Assassin's Creed rating actually went up a couple points. There we go. There we go. It's up to a 77. Well, maybe it'll crawl to an 80. Who knows? Forza Motorsport also got an 85. Nice. Well, you know what? Let me put it this way. Look, Detective Pikachu Returns might be a 68, but at least it's not The Exorcist Believer. A clean 41. Super clean.
It's a $50 game.
Super clean. $50 game.
Let's keep it clean.
There we go.
Yeah. $50.
$50.
Oh, did Detective Pikachu not get a physical release either?
I have no idea.
Mm.
Did it?
No.
Did it not? I don't know. There's a physical box art for it.
It got
but
a
that
I see it like on Play Asia, like a Japanese with English on the cart, but I don't see a North American release.
Exorcist Believer is good. Well, there is 2 positive reviews. You must be one of them, Natsu. That's okay. I have no idea what the Exorcist Believer is. The movie, I'm assuming. All right. I mean, I'm seeing a physical box art.
US version.
Man.
Visit the Switch
Yay! You can't buy it physically in the US. That's fun. All right.
Cool.
It is a $50 game.
Yes.
I also think it's really, really unfortunate that this game is included in Nintendo Switch game vouchers program.
Considering it's not a deal, you mean?
Yeah, it's like
It's like not a deal at all.
Like
At
you're
all.
taking
It's
taking a hit to the
totally not a deal.
savings by getting this one.
Not a deal. All right. Well, let's get into our first topic. And I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I was hoping that the mood feels sort of down around the show right now. So I was like, oh, let's get hyped. Let's get into it. But then the first topic isn't a good topic. So, yay.
The physical drops in the US on the 6th.
Gotcha.
Well, that would make sense. The game comes out on the 6th.
Okay. Well, all right. There we go.
But you just can't pre-order it?
No, you can.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. See, we're just a bunch of blabbling idiots because I wasn't planning to buy the game anyways.
Yeah. I'll put the pre-order link in the chat in case anyone's interested.
Yeah, be sure to get that affiliate revenue.
It's not an affiliate.
I wouldn't even care if it was. Amazon affiliate, 1%. Don't worry about it. All right. So looking at our first topic here, well, it's really probably the big news of the last 24, 48 hours or so. Nintendo has announced the end of the online services for Wii U and 3DS. Essentially, it is ending sometime in April. That is the plan. If you click through and actually read more information, they actually note if any problem comes up in the unforeseeable future, we might just shut down the services anytime we feel like. So they're basically saying anytime from now to April, they could just shut it down without warning.
Oh, I didn't read it like that. Okay, interesting.
That's what it says when you open up the webpage. Like it literally says like, "Hey, we will shut this down for any reason if we have any problems."
Yeah, at a glance, I thought it was just everything's going to be there till April 20. The one thing that's good is they said, Nintendo Japan said Pokemon Bank will continue to work after that, but
Pokemon Bank
still
and
go at
Pokemon,
any time.
yeah, Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transport are both going to be working still after it goes down. And there is no planned date to take those down. So that's one of those Pokemon Company problem wants them up. So they're going to stay up until the Pokemon Company doesn't want them up anymore because that's the decision for them. And they even said third-party games, like, oh, most third-party games won't be able to be played online. However, technically, we don't run their servers. So it's up to the individual publishers. Go talk to them on when they want to take those servers down. They did also say that, hey, this doesn't mean we're taking down your ability to re-download your games. You'll still be able to access the eShop on the platform, download your digital games, download game updates, all that kind of stuff. They're not taking that down, and I foresee them probably still keeping that up for a number of years, especially for the 3DS platform. I don't know, they're probably eventually going to take the whole shop down, but that's the most controversial thing they could do because then literally if you bought digital, you lose access to your games if something happens to your system. So that would kind of suck. But for now, they're still allowing that stuff to happen. There's obviously a lot of controversy surrounding all of this because, like PlayStation 3, you could still technically use the online services on PlayStation 3. I have noted a few differences, though. One, those are paid accounts, and it's technically the same accounts carried forward to PS4 and PS5. Right. Whereas the account systems on Wii U and 3DS were non-paid accounts, so absolutely free, and a completely separate system.
Right.
And I can understand from a security perspective why you might not want to keep supporting a legacy account system, just literally for security reasons. Like keep bringing that forward, especially when you have a new platform coming where you're going to be already confirmed bringing Nintendo accounts and services forward to the next platform. It's like, hey, we're all in on this new account system. We really got to stop worrying about this legacy stuff. But I don't want to go super defense force Nintendo here. It's still shitty. It still sucks. Mario Maker fans are probably the ones hurt the most because Mario Maker
not that big of a deal though. I remember once they pulled the plug on the eShop and announced all that stuff, people knew this was coming. So there wasn't nearly as much backlash to this as there was to that. People were kind of, and I'm in the same boat. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but we knew it was going to happen. It's whatever. They already, they already went 90% of the way there. Now they're just doing the last.
Yeah, for me personally, I don't play my 3DS anymore, and I haven't owned a Wii in a while, so it doesn't really impact me that much. For me, that's why my whole video, and it's costing me subscribers because I tried to spin this. But it's you'll look at it though. They're ending it in April, which is the beginning of the next fiscal year, which is conveniently when people expect a certain platform to be coming out. So it's kind of like, hey, they're just wrapping shit up before the new system gets here. That's what it looks like to me. But people hated that spin. By the way, in my video, I never treated this like it was good news. It was just it's happening. We can't stop it. The modding community is going to keep certain games still alive. And it's what are we going to do? There's not enough backlash, unfortunately. I thought the backlash would be bigger. But when Sony tried to shut down the PS3 stuff, the backlash was massive. It was way bigger than the backlash Nintendo's getting right now. So,
well, Nintendo received a similar backlash when they announced the actual eShop was closing.
Oh yeah, you can't buy games anymore on it. Yeah,
and that's what Sony got the backlash for, not the online, for the actual being able to purchase the game.
Yeah,
not many people are playing online right now.
Well, here's the thing. I saw someone telling me oh, Sony didn't take down, that all their online services are up. I'm like, go load all your old PS3 games and tell me how many of the online servers are still there. They've been taking them down every year. Even Sony first party. Just because you can access the shop and buy games doesn't mean that all their games work online on PS3 anymore. That's just not the case.
I want to go double check because I used to play a lot of Black Ops 2 on Wii U.
Oh, sure.
I want to double check if that's still online. I want to say it's not. But that's not a Nintendo thing. That's an Activision server thing.
He still does. Every single year, he goes and plays every PS3 game that still has online to see how many people are playing them.
Yeah.
He just came out with this year's a couple months ago.
You can see how many people are playing.
Well,
Or it's
yeah,
just
he
kind
just
of like
goes
just to
on and
see if
sees
you
if like he
can.
can get matches with real people in different
Yeah.
games.
I
Mhm.
might fire up Splatoon.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people wanted to fire up Splatoon or get some last races in
That's the
Mario
big
Kart
one for Wii
7.
U for sure.
I mean, I actually like the idea. Man, if I play now, I might kind of defeat the purpose. But I should wait like a couple months and then play Splatoon once people forget that it's going away, so I can play it and just wait a really long time to get a match, so I can play the Squid Game.
Yeah,
There's
it's
like
the
the 8-bit
I
Squid
think
Game that you play in between matches.
the biggest
Oh, yeah.
backlash I've seen today was Mario Maker fans, because apparently Mario Maker fans really love Mario Maker 1 way more than 2. And
Oh.
Mario Maker 1, here's the problem: when it goes offline, all those made courses are gone. They're just gone. There's no way to download and keep them. The hacking community, modding community has been trying. They can't get them. Like, they
Okay.
just exist on Nintendo servers. You can't get them. So
Yeah,
like,
that huge install base of Wii U owners that
no,
have also
but here's the
modded their
thing.
system are going to be
Look at
bummed.
the sales of Mario Maker 1 and look at the sales of Mario Maker 2. It's like the exact same audience. And Mario Maker 2 was on a bigger platform, and it still didn't really sell much better than 1. So I here's the thing. It's not that the audience is huge. It's that I still am going to care that people are losing access to the shit that that they put time into. Because Mario Maker is literally an online multiplayer game. So it does suck. As I said, 3DS owners are the ones that you're probably going to hear more stuff from, just because there is still a semi-active 3DS community out there, just in general.
Yeah, most
but-
games on 3DS you don't really play online.
Mario Kart
Well,
7, baby.
Mario
Pokemon
Maker's
battles.
on 3DS.
Pokemon battles.
No.
So I don't know. I didn't really play a lot of multiplayer on 3DS. Triforce Heroes, baby. There we go.
I mean, for
Yeah.
me, it's just like Pokemon.
That game's, well, it was completely dead. You can play the
Federation Force.
There you go. That game's completely dead. So I don't know, guys. Like, here's the thing. For me personally, it doesn't impact me much, but I'm trying to understand the people that are mad about it. And you know what? I get it.
Mhm.
No one wants to lose access to shit ever. But this is the reality of this has been the reality of online games since their inception. Forget going back to old platforms. I've been playing PC games since the 90s. Almost all the games that I played back then, their online servers have been gone for decades. It's just part of, like example, I used to play the original Age of Empires through MSN Gaming Zone. Once MSN Gaming Zone literally vanished off the face of the planet, you haven't been able to play Age of Empires, the original, online until they re-released the HD version. So this is totally normal. It's just, for console gamers, it's a bit of a newer concept because we haven't had online games as long as PC gamers have. So we're only just now dealing with one of the first big generations for online gaming was the PS3, Wii, Xbox 360, DS era, which a lot of people lump 3DS and Wii U into. And when you do that, yeah, we're getting to the point that we're losing access to the online modes in all of those games across the spectrum, not just on Nintendo, Xbox and PlayStation as well. And that's just us now dealing with the reality that PC gamers deal with for a long time, that servers aren't kept up forever. If things are kept alive, like say World of Warcraft Classic for a long time, that was because people hosted private servers in order to play that before Blizzard ended up nuking those servers legally and coming back with their own WoW Classic. So it's just one of those situations that modders are going to keep certain games alive if you want to get really deep into things and you want to mod your systems. But this was always going to happen. And I guess because I'm a PC gamer that's watched this happen over the last 30 years, I'm not shocked or surprised. And since Nintendo makes absolutely no money on 3DS and Wii U, they don't sell anything anymore. They don't sell new games. And the eShop, you can't buy anything. They make no money. There is no monetary incentive for Nintendo to keep these games going. So, if anything, they want to push you to the new stuff on the new systems. So, I'm not as upset. And I think that maybe that's also leaning into why people are not liking my video today, because I'm really not that upset about this. I mean, Nintendo warned us.
I'm kind of
warned us like a
agree with
year
you.
ago.
I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, it's a bummer, but like I just don't really care. Like we knew it was coming, and it's not something that I personally use, and maybe that's selfish. Maybe people will be mad at me too, but that's how I feel too, man.
You guys are bad people. I can't even talk to you guys anymore.
Is that why you left earlier? No.
Yeah. As soon as this topic came
Yeah,
up, you
right.
dipped. You're like, nah, I don't want to.
I didn't
I
even
know
know
that-
what the topic was. I just sensed the evil from minutes away. Yeah. No. I kind of think about it, and for something like Splatoon, it's interesting because Splatoon is predominantly an online multiplayer game. Like I think with Splatoon 1, I think that's the only Splatoon game that has like some split screen multiplayer, so you can still kind of have a little bit of multiplayer locally. It was Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, but it's not like a big feature, right? It's like a fairly minimal thing. So it's going to be interesting. Let's say, I don't know, what, 6 years from now when they shut down like Switch servers, if they do, and Splatoon, you can't play Splatoon 2 anymore or Splatoon 3, which don't have any local multiplayer. Although I wouldn't be surprised that those stick around for longer since we do pay for it, and maybe they want to kind of keep the same ecosystem for a longer amount of time.
Well, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, they're definitely going to be there for a long time.
Yeah. That's one thing. If there's backwards compatibility, that actually goes really well into keeping Switch stuff for a long time. Also, because they're keeping the same account system going forward, they're actually making money off the online no matter what, whether you're using it on Switch 2 or Switch. So there's less of an incentive to shut that stuff down. But yeah, who really knows? Like we're a long ways away from Switch servers being shut down. Like I don't think this is like, oh man, we need to not worry about when Switch is going to get shut down. I said this in my video. It's probably like a decade from now before we even have that conversation of them just completely shutting down 60 million sales of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe playing online. Like I don't see that happening for quite some time when they actually make money. If there's enough people still playing online on Switch, they're making money off those people. So they have all the more reason to keep things going. So I don't know. It's just I think for some, there's also like the accepting that look, these platforms have been out of production for a little while. Wii U much longer than 3DS. But we were upset when we couldn't buy new games in the eShop anymore, especially because a lot of the physical games are so expensive for this, especially Wii U. The physical games of Wii U are crazy expensive. But there's also this idea that we now have to just accept those generations are over. Nintendo's just killing them off. And I think some people that grew up with these platforms, they were teenagers when these things came out, and now they're in their mid-20s. There's a little bit of a struggle to accept that something that doesn't feel so long ago for them is now just being ended.
It's not our first rodeo with this type of stuff. It's theirs, but
I've seen a lot of people that said like, dude, they're just ruining my childhood. And I'm like, man, that's so crazy to me that that's your childhood, dude.
Luckily for all of us, our childhood is all on cartridges, and we can actually still play all of them.
Yeah, they didn't take anything away from me from when I was a kid. So I've never actually had to go through this before when it comes to consoles. You either own the games and play them or you don't. Like, hey, you want to play GoldenEye? Hey, now it's even better. I can play it online.
Well
kind of. Well, no, you got if you buy the N64 controller, then it's perfect. Then it's perfect. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to mess with the controls to fix it. Anyways, so I don't know. It's just I'm trying to understand like what that feels like, and I honestly don't know what it feels like because I've never had my childhood just chose to be ended when it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. So I don't know. Eric, got any thoughts on it?
I mean, I've never owned a Wii U, so I mean,
you played mine.
It doesn't matter. That's me personally.
As I say, we unlocked everything in Mario Kart 8.
Right.
We did that together.
But and my 3DS, I don't think I've touched in. God, it feels like a decade.
What's the last game you played on it? That wasn't for me. No Triforce Heroes, but that was for
Smash.
Me. Was it Smash? Okay,
maybe. I'd have to find my 3DS.
Yeah, do you even know where it is?
Yeah, I think so. It's floating around. So again, to me personally, it's not the end of the world because it doesn't really affect me. But as you were saying, I understand people who have games, who've purchased games, that are only online, and basically that game is now null and void it's kind of shitty. You know, and I don't know. It just sucks, but you know, we don't control it,
Yeah.
and there's
It's
not
in-
much we can do about it. Welcome to the future of gaming,
Yeah.
where shit just goes away because we don't want to pay for the servers anymore.
I mean, look, when they take servers away, it's a business decision. They're not
yeah.
making enough money, so it's time to shut them down. Like businesses do have to worry about the bottom line. And I know we're talking about billion-dollar businesses here that aren't hurt for money, but it's still like, hey, they're still trying to make money at the end of the day. And if they can cut some costs, they'll cut some costs. It is what it is. I'll say this: I'd rather they cut this than cut employees, like it's happening all across the industry over the last year. So, like, I'd rather them shut down servers than fire people. So,
I mean, I wouldn't mind them firing a couple. Whoever like keeps adding Kirby games to the online, like I'm good.
oh jeez.
Whoever makes that choice, you can let them go and give me some 3DS online. I'll take it.
Oh boy. Oh,
Hey, we
boy.
got F099.
You realize there's probably
Yeah.
multiple layers of decisions that goes through, right?
Get rid of them all.
Get rid of them all.
Anyone that
Furukawa,
contributed.
you did not put your thumbs up when they said we want to bring 3DS to NSO. Get out of here.
You're right.
Get on.
Exactly.
I mean, that just
Watch. We found out it was Miyamoto himself.
I mean, that just
Yeah,
does
get 'em
open
outta
the-
here.
That does open the door though for a whole bunch of 3DS ports over to the Switch 2 to then or to NSO. So I mean,
I do think 3DS might be a consideration with DS to be an NSO edition on Switch 2.
Mhm.
I do think there's an opportunity there to do a value add
Mhm.
by bringing all these games back, but doing it through NSO
Mhm.
over time.
That
Of
would-
course,
That would imply that there's some sort of second screen.
not necessarily. There's a touch screen. You can literally. We'd have this on the Wii U gamepad. We were able to do it. You just have to have a touch screen. You don't have to have two screens. Have you never used an emulator to do DS and 3DS games? It's all on one screen.
I'm not a pirate.
But you've never seen videos where they're all
I'm
on-
not a pirate. How
Okay.
dare you accuse me of such?
Okay, well then open up your 3DS and assume that there's no break between the
just for
top and bottom
record,
screen.
Just
It's
for
the same
record,
thing.
I do know how DS and
To
3DS games are
emulate that
emulated.
stuff, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But it's all on one screen. Like there's no reason they can't do it on one screen.
It can, but
You just need a touch screen component, which it has.
I'm assuming that the framework of Switch is the exact same as Switch, right? Assuming it is, and it may not be. How would you need a second screen to play in docked mode? Like you don't have access to a touch screen when you're playing in docked mode.
Okay, and there's already games on Switch that you can't play in docked mode, so I don't know.
Sure. So you're talking about an entire NSO platform not being available in docked mode.
Sure, it's a portable platform. What are we worried about? They literally sell a Switch that doesn't dock.
Unless
What are we talking about?
Unless the Switch 2 includes the functionality of the Wii U and that you can have a game utilize both at once.
Yeah, but how to do that without?
There
being
is, I
docked?
mean,
Maybe
there
you
are
could
there are
wireless.
ways around this.
They
Just for the record.
could do it in 2013 with the Wii U.
All right. So
Yeah, but the
if I'm
Wii U
not
didn't have-
mistaken,
It could just
components
be like
in
a toggle, like internally that like the Switch knows depending on a mode that you select in the game.
But then you're not docking the Switch. It would have to be a wireless communication.
Right.
Because
In
all
that
the-
mode, it would only be in handheld and TV. And it'd be
answer
like a
this
third
question for
mode.
me if you can, because
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but I want to say that there have been patents of the Nintendo file that relate to syncing the game console with a smartphone.
Sure.
Someone in the
So-
chat just said that too. That's
Yeah.
valid.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, you could use a smartphone as a second screen, and all you have to do is release like a clip that you can clip your phone onto your controller, and then you can have the dual screen gameplay. And then DS, 3DS, no problem. Even Wii U, all three, you could put on. You could
Yeah.
put on Switch 2 with
Okay.
that.
Let me ask you something quick. You just talked about a second screen with a phone that you clip on. You're still in handheld mode. Then what are we talking about?
What are you talking about? No, I'm talking about
no, you
docked
clip
mode.
it to a. You clip it to a.
So you need a controller.
controller,
So you
yeah.
need controllers that connect to your phone.
There would have to be a something, right? For one, we assume the Switch 2 wouldn't be able to do that with the controllers out of the box, right? So I assume a clip or something like that. Yeah.
I'd have to say that they could just won't bother with that because it requires spending extra money, and the whole point of the online service is it's just there. and they'll just only be available.
They release controllers for NSO each NSO platform. So why wouldn't they release something to allow you to play?
They'll give you a stylus. They'll release a stylus you can buy.
They'll just release they'll release a Joy-Con expander thing for your phone.
I don't see what the problem is only having it available in handheld mode. It's literally what 70% of the people who play Switch do is handheld. So I don't really know what the problem is.
If we're just talking about DS, it has 2 screens.
Sure.
If you flip your Switch,
you don't have to flip your Switch. It's an 8-inch screen. It's going to be higher resolution with bigger screens than the original DS and 3DS. Just doing it this way. If you just take your Switch and you just do it this way with an 8-inch screen, it's still going to be roughly the same size, if not bigger, with a higher resolution than the original DS.
You also have to you would have to what? Move the screen to the right or to the left?
You don't have to move it to the right or the left.
Nate, here's the problem with that, is that they already have systems like the GBA where they're taking the full screen. So if you're in like NSO and you're playing a GBA game and you switch to a 3DS game and it's like a quarter of the size on each screen of what you were just playing as a Game Boy Advance game, kind of weird. But I do like the idea of like just do a flip.
Well, yeah, I mean you can obviously flip, and that'll make everything, I get quote unquote better. I don't know if there's a way that'll be inbuilt to connect controllers, but I don't know. I'm just saying that like I don't look. People are emulating the shit out of these on single screens. I don't find this to be an excuse. This is all I'm saying. Like they could put it on there and make it work. You just might not like the way it works. And that's fine if you don't like the way it works. Go back and play can't play them online, but go back and play your DS.
Go back and play them on the wait.
You know what I mean? Like it's not, to
in
me,
theory,
it's not,
you could also
it's
use
just
the
about
right
the
stick.
convenience.
You could use the right stick to work on the touch screen. It would be whack, but possible.
Because you got to tap. A lot of games involve tapping.
You just put a really shitty touchscreen on the dock itself, and you call it good.
But I don't know why are we debating the touchscreen's not a problem. The whole screen's a touchscreen. What are we talking about?
It has, but it wouldn't work in dock mode.
Who cares?
I mean, the people who want to play in dock mode.
Who the F wants to play
you want to play a 240p game blown up? Like, oh no, I'm good, man.
Yeah. Hey, that's not keeping it clean. Get out of here.
What are you talking about?
Do you not know the resolution of the games we're talking about?
One of the coolest features is being able to plug in the Game Boy game.
It's a console game
on the screen.
Yes, because it was made for a screen.
Not to mention that there was a lot of DS games you could play on the Wii U.
Oh, you mean like playing the
console? Like,
yeah, and they looked like shit.
Also, NSO games scale up. They increase the resolution. That's the whole point. That's one big feature of it. Pushes to 1080p.
Mouth.
It's just bad
basically what all that's happening is Andres restarted saying, I don't want DS and 3DS on there because there won't be a convenient way to play it on your TV.
No,
I'd rather have it than not.
I'm just talking about that they need to think of a way to do it where it makes sense, and having only in portable mode an entire NSO platform is not something Nintendo's going to do. They're not going to do that. I'm telling you that.
It's free. It's part of your subscription.
No, I'm telling you right now that if they're going to do it, there's going to be a way to do it on the actual television, and you're wrong.
So they won't release a Switch 2 that can only be portable then. That was a thing people didn't think was going to happen. Why would you release a Switch you can't switch? There's an entire platform that can't dock. I'm so confused. If Nintendo's willing to release an entire system that can't dock, you're saying they can't release an optional free NSO thing that obviously is a
dedicated online NSO feature that's meant to reach a large audience. No, I don't think that makes sense.
It's a dedicated NSO online feature for an old handheld system that most people have only ever played in handheld. I don't think they're going to care that they can still only play it in handheld on their handheld system.
I don't agree. I don't think what you're saying makes any sense. But that
sounds like Andres needs his handheld.
Oh. Anyways, no, it's okay. Obviously, we're not going to agree on this. I just don't see. I think it's a bullshit excuse. If their excuse is we won't put DS and 3DS on Switch 2 NSO because we can't make it work with TV mode in a convenient way, I think that's bullshit. You're basically saying I'd rather not have the games if we can't have it on TV mode.
That's not what I'm saying.
Bullshit excuse.
That's not what I'm saying.
You're saying it doesn't make sense for them to do it. Well, how would it not?
What I'm saying is that solutions need to be made, and I offer you the solution, a very good solution that there are patents for apparently, and you threw out the window. So
there are no patents for controllers on the side of a phone. The patents are for AR. I know what the patents are. I reported on them. They're AR. It has nothing to do with putting controllers on the side.
But okay, phone connectivity might be one way to do it. That's one way. Otherwise, I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, you can't have something that requires buying an accessory for NSO.
Yeah.
Why would
We've
you need
also
one?
been
You
waiting-
just take it out
We've
your
also
dock
been
and play
waiting
it.
on GameCube NSO for the longest time. GameCube came out before DS, so
Sure. Yeah,
you know.
but they seem to be remastering them
Yeah.
instead.
They
That
may
seems
and they
weird.
may want to remaster DS and 3DS games.
I mean, they are remastering a ton of 3DS games.
Yeah, they have been doing quite a few 3DS.
So-
Not all the big ones.
Like maybe Nintendo doesn't want to dip into that treasure trove and just give it to NSO.
What about the DS library? We just forget that's like Nintendo's most popular system ever, the DS.
Right.
What
They
about
can
all those
remaster
games?
Those games.
Oh, that's what you think they're gonna do. They're gonna remaster all those because again,
I
they
mean,
don't have
okay,
Wii U
so,
games support.
All right. Well, here's an idea. What if they start treating the Switch as kind of like a cheaper, more handheld dedicated platform once Switch 2 comes out and they release, as you're saying, right? Considering your perspective here, they release it. But it's just kind of like, hey, yeah, you got DS NSO for Switch users.
So now, why wouldn't you include Switch 2 users?
It's just a Nintendo thing to do.
That makes no sense. It would work exactly the same
Well,
on
you know
either
what else
system.
doesn't make sense? Mario Wonder.
Why?
And how you can't just do normal online multiplayer with your friends. It has to be with the transparencies.
So I was thinking about that normal multiplayer thing. What's interesting is in the real game, you don't bump into your friends anyways. There's only two ways to interact, and that is one, hitting the ghost to bring them back, which they already offer a way to
Why
do
was
that.
there
in
balloons?
Yeah, oh dude, there's more. Look at this, man. So wait for it. Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, what? That's
Yeah,
too much. I
yeah.
can't
This is
handle that right now.
a Mac user. We get special features. Anyways, so the what I was saying is their online multiplayer. I kept thinking about this whole ghost user thing. If you think about the local co-op, the only thing you're really missing is the ability to jump on Yoshi's back. You already don't interact with each other really otherwise. You just run through the level. So it's really not that much different.
It's not very different. It's just a little weird. But on
Yeah.
that note, the ability to hit each other, right? Like some people are kind of wish that was
In
an
the
option.
game.
An
Yeah,
option.
I
I'm
think
glad
it's
it's
not-
gone, but a lot of people
yeah.
wish they made it an option and they didn't.
Yeah, well, they had it. Remember, there was an interview they did.
Yeah,
recently.
exactly. That's why I brought it up.
But they
Like-
removed it because apparently it was too chaotic. And I kept thinking about what we've seen so far. Yeah, I can see that it's with what they're doing with the Wonder stuff. It could be pretty chaotic.
From the interview that I read, they had this direction of kind of creating a less stressful environment, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, this is stressful." Then I remember when I played, like, on the Wii U, I didn't like playing with other people and getting knocked off. Like that it kind of made it annoying because I want to play the Mario for like platforming. It's not that I don't want challenge, but that kind of it takes away from the intended challenge, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. So
Well,
I
as
don't.
an example,
I like the way they did it in 3D World.
I hated it in 3D World as well.
Really? Because
Didn't
then, like, if you were good and you were playing with someone that was bad, like you could literally carry them.
I didn't like playing with other people in 3D
So
World.
the reason I think they did it is you think about some of the unique things in this game. Say Elephant Mario. One character could take up the entire damn platform and no one would be able to progress. They'd all have to wait for that one character to move. So one person could literally prevent everyone else from advancing in the level. That's kind of a dick thing. And so I think that between that and a lot of the other Wonder abilities we've seen that do all these crazy things and it's really chaotic and it looks fun, it'd be even more chaotic if you're just bumping into everyone and can't get anywhere. And I think that obviously they tried it. I mean, they tried it with Collision in development. Like this wasn't something they outright dismissed and
they
never
probably
did.
started with the, based off prior
Yeah,
games. They just
yeah.
said what that
They,
was.
oh yeah, we'll have Collision, not a big deal. And then they're like, this is just not fun, or something's just not. And so then they took it away as a test, and they're like, oh, this just feels better. And it's hard for us, I think, as consumers to know because we weren't there to feel the difference. We're only going to know it one way.
But they made it. They
Are we
could
going to play
have made
Super
it
Mario
an option.
Brothers Wonder on the podcast?
Are we gonna what?
We gonna play a couple levels on the podcast?
We
It
can do
won't
that.
be
Sure.
the same because it'll be transparent.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at this guy. Fine. You know what? You don't have to be on that episode. I'll get somebody else in who actually wants to play.
Oh, I'll
Damn.
be playing on my own.
Here we go. See,
Oh,
see, he can't even do a fun little group project for the podcast. He can't even do it.
I would. I would. No, I'm just kidding. I would play. I would gladly.
I never know if you're kidding. You're. I don't know. I've never been able to pick up on your sarcasm.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like your serious
sarcasm.
voice.
I think it's like I was being serious, but I realized that was way too much. So now I'm gonna say it was sarcasm.
You'll never know.
You'll never know. It's not. What was it that you play with your brother? Switch golf. It wasn't Switch golf. So I refuse to play it with other people. I think that's what you said you played with your brother. I don't remember. Maybe it was you, wasn't it?
I played Switch Sports Golf
Yeah.
with my brother and my dad a lot recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played Cuphead with my cousin not too long ago. as
Nice.
well.
Yeah, you brought that up in the show.
More
yeah.
comparable to Mario Wonder. Yeah. Anyway, I brought up Mario Wonder though,
Yeah.
because I wanted to kind of raise a question, right? Because we're having a little bit of an impasse on this discussion here. And obviously I acknowledge that Nintendo could release DS Virtual Console on Switch 2. They could. But assuming it functions exactly as it does on Switch, it would only be for portable mode. I play almost only on dock mode. Like, so for me, it would definitely be.
Suck for live streaming too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just I don't think it would make the most sense. But it is possible, right? I guess the point is, like, for example, the same reason Nintendo.
I have the solution. We're dumb. Andres, we're both dumb. Why can't it be on a TV all on one screen? You literally have your damn thing. It's the stupid Joy-Con. You just point at the screen and you just hold a button to touch. What are we doing? You're supposed to hold the
Yeah.
But you're supposed to hold the stylus when you're playing anyways.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
like,
you know what? I mean, it would work. It would
I'm not saying it's elegant, by the way. I'm just saying
not
that
elegant at all.
But it depends on how good the motion controls are.
It's not the same.
Well, nothing's gonna ever be the same as the original.
No.
Come on, you can't be looking for the exact same experience. You got to find the compromise in there that can make it work without having to.
It will be worse than the Wii U's Virtual Console, the DS, which is already worse than the DS.
But here's the thing: the Wii U came with a stylus and a separate screen. You got to work with what you have.
I go back to the Mario Wonder example. The devs made a decision.
Yeah,
they could have included both, but they chose not to. And I think they just had a vision and they stuck with it. And I just kind of feel like when we're talking about the Switch 2 and the ability for it to do it, it's not elegant. And to me, I don't see that happening. I understand you can make the argument of the Switch Lite, like yes, Nintendo did that, so they might be willing to do other things that only impact a small part of the audience. But I think in general, they don't want to do that. That's the exception, not the rule. So I just don't expect them to do that unless they come up with a more elegant solution. And there may be a more elegant solution. I'm not saying I don't want it. I want it. And I want it so much that they come up with the solution that makes DS good. Not only can you put DS, you can put 3DS and Wii U, which would be fantastic. Will that happen? I don't think so.
I don't think we're ever going to see Wii U on NSO because they already ported like almost every exclusive, but like 2. So they're more likely to just re-release the things they already ported, I would assume.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, there's a dream world where like every Nintendo system's eventually on NSO, which I just don't know if Nintendo's ever going to do that. I do think we could see more third-party systems. If they could hook up and get Dreamcast on there, get the old Atari systems up. Like, I think there's
if Dreamcast happens, the GameCube NSO conversations are going to spike.
They're going to spike like crazy.
Yeah.
Can I ask a random question? I mean, it's related to the Switch, but
you can ask whatever you want. It's a podcast.
You have my
would you guys, if I made like a custom candy on Etsy that was a Switch cartridge, but instead of tasting terrible, it was like a lollipop or like a Jolly Rancher?
You'd be rich.
Would you buy them?
Depends on how. Well, I mean, if it's like $10 a thing, no. But price wise,
All right.
If it's a good price,
thank you. All right, let's go in the idea book.
It's a good idea. It's probably been done already.
Yeah, someone probably has like a Jolly Rancher 3D printer or something.
I just come up with good ideas. Anytime I come up with an idea, someone's like, probably been done.
Well,
Or
but
if it's
Look
good,
on
I
Etsy.
always say that. If it's
Hold on,
bad,
maybe
we're
not.
like, yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
will.
fine.
help
I'll look it up
that
right
in a
now.
live stream with a few hundred people watching, that someone can steal it.
Yeah.
Nope,
No,
I already patented it. F you guys.
I'm actually going on Etsy right now to look over if there's like any sort of candy Switch cartridges. I'm just curious now.
I would
Anyways,
eat it. If you make it, I will support your business.
Thank you.
you will get at least a purchase from me.
just put some weed in it and you'll be good.
And we're really
I
now
was
we're
hoping for something
we're
like-
going next level.
I wasn't thinking brownie, but yeah, that would probably be easy.
Well,
to do.
You don't have to
No,
be
no.
brownie. You can do
Just
edibles
put
in
some
any
THC
form. It
put
doesn't have to be brownie.
THC's in the
It's one of the
What
most
if it's
popular
just like-
forms. It's
What
just
if it's just
gummies.
like a tab of acid, but it looks like a Switch
I
cartridge?
mean, there's that too.
You can sell that on Etsy, right?
I am actually not easily seeing any candy Switch stuff on Etsy. So you know what? You might have some. You own the market.
Yeah, maybe
Let's
someone's only
go.
made it for like a video or something, but no one's actually like made it.
Like
into a
made it
business.
as to sell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, are we supposed to talk about our favorite Wii U moments?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I was going to get to that
Hey.
here.
Oh.
Tune in every week, guys, for more wild ideas. Maybe I can even make you rich. And I would be so mad if one of you got rich off one of my ideas. But hey, if you're at this podcast every week, you could steal one.
Well, we're going to add a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. Anyone that steals an idea from the show, we automatically all get 5%.
Oh yeah.
So,
That
Jake, I don't know if
includes
you know this.
the sneakers that I designed that have magnets in them, so you can pick up loose change as you
Oh,
walk.
nice.
That's my
Good call.
idea.
Wow,
Good
that's
call.
pretty good. So, Jake, I don't know if you know this, but one time I made a video up about this. It was a couple of years ago where I made a prediction on when Breath of the Wild 2, that's how long the prediction was, would come out, and I was dead wrong. And because I was wrong, I had to eat dubious cake. Or
Oh,
dubious.
no.
I made a cake that looked like the dubious food from Breath of the Wild, like that
And it
actual
tastes
file.
like it.
So we made it. We created it as a cake to actually make it look like that shape, and we created like bones and like little choo choo jellies and like the purple green gook that it is, and also like the pixely stuff. So that was the best way to do it. And we used a lot of different spices in the cake that would normally go inside cake, like Worcestershire sauce and other stuff that I don't remember.
Oh my god. I bet
I
that
ate
was
like
actually
a third of it.
dubious.
It was dubious. It fit the description. Yeah.
That's a great video idea. I love that.
Yeah. It didn't do
Cool.
well.
Didn't do it.
Actually,
So,
I mean,
People don't appreciate art.
it did do well for
The
the
time.
channel standards at the time.
Yeah, but see, he's got these internal standards that are like way above even what like Spawn Wave's doing. So it's insane. It's just
The
utterly insane.
sporf didn't do too well either. It was a spoon and
Don't
a
ask
fork,
me
but
how
it
that
had
just
a
happened.
knife
I don't
that
know how we didn't
popped
get
out
there.
and flipped out.
So let me see. I'm
All
looking.
three.
So what are some of like our favorite memories of online play, specifically on 3DS and Wii U? Who wants to go first?
Mario Kart.
Eric.
Done.
First, there you go. Mario Kart
done.
7. Mario Kart
Yeah.
7.
Pretty much it.
Done. That's all I can think about. All those times
I
that he totally went online and played.
Yep. With your
Well,
Wii U.
it's funny because
at
I
your
played
house.
a ton of Mario Kart 7, but I always would like play with friends on road trips locally.
Sure.
Like I never played it online. But
Okay.
that's
Has any of
that's
us
how I
played
would do
online
Mario Kart
games on
7.
Wii U and 3DS? Maybe we should start with that question.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Well,
played.
I know that like he basically hasn't. Eric hasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, mine are
played-
Pokemon, like I said.
Pokemon.
I played Splatoon online. I played Pokken
Splatoon
Tournament
as well.
online. I played Xenoblade X online. What else did I play online on that? I mean, Mario Kart and Smash, obviously. What else was there? I think that was
I
it.
played
That's all
Mario Maker online. I played Triforce Heroes online.
on Wii U. Oh well,
No,
it's
I'm
3DS.
going between
yeah.
the both. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
going between the
Federation Force. I did try doing the co-op with
Yep,
a
I
friend,
played
but
that. I
because
played
it was
that
a 3DS
online.
and the Wi-Fi card sucked, it continued to crash, so I never actually finished the game.
both. Played Smash online on both
Yeah,
Wii U and 3DS.
I never bought the Smash 3DS, but I played the demo like for 100 hours.
It was kind of cool. They gave us a demo for that. It was. Neat.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Not a game I ever expected there to be a demo for. And here you go.
Yeah, it was fun.
I'm trying to think what other games did I actually play online. Pretty much everything on Wii U that had an online mode, I tried it online at some point.
Kid Icarus.
Yeah, Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was one too.
that game needs to be remade.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking at things, I'm pretty like
Oh, Star Fox. I think Star Fox 64 3D. I think it only had local multiplayer. I wish they made that online. That would have been good. It was so
yeah.
cool.
What's cool about that one is that one, I mean, well, I don't know. There's just a lot of there's not well, like when I think back, most of my memories with Wii U and 3DS aren't necessarily the multiplayer, the online aspect, even though I did. So like I did play online with the stuff, but I didn't. It wasn't what I majority played on the systems. So when I think back on it, like it almost just makes me feel like it really doesn't matter that they're shutting it down because there really wasn't that many popular games for online on those systems.
Can't play Black Ops 2 anymore on my
Yeah.
Wii U.
And I think they already shut down those servers. If I remember
I think they
right.
shut them down a long time ago. Yeah.
So it really isn't that big of a travesty because Nintendo really wasn't all in on that online stuff until this generation.
Nintendo was figuring it out last generation.
I mean, I was more sad when Miiverse went away than I was anything else.
Yeah, I mean, well, Wind Waker HD had the Miiverse integration with the Tingle bottles.
Yeah.
Like that was really cool until Miiverse died. So when Miiverse died, like something that made Wind Waker HD so cool went away. So I guess it's not really impacted by the online stuff now because Miiverse has been dead for years.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that's like the thing. Like my memories are mostly single player on these systems, but I did play online. It just Miiverse was like the most memorable part of online for me on both systems. Like sharing memories from games with fellow Nintendo fans, screenshots, drawing pictures. But we haven't been able to do that for a long time. So
yeah, did it even make it through the entire Wii U generation? Miiverse.
I think it made it to the end of Wii U. Pretty sure it did. I can't remember when Miiverse was shut down.
Miiverse shut down. All right, Google.
For me, I've always leaned towards single player games. I don't play a lot of multiplayer, or it's just like certain games with certain friends.
Miiverse has discontinued November 7th, 2017.
Yeah, so it lived on through the whole Wii U life.
So a lot of these online shutdowns in general, I feel the same way as Nate feels about this.
Yeah, like to me, I can see how Xbox and PlayStation online being shut down would be a bigger deal because they were charging for it and they had a crap load of online games. But Nintendo didn't really have all those online third-party games. And their own games, only a handful are actually online. So like someone brought up Devil's Third on Wii U. Like, yeah, that was the only good part of Devil's Third because the main game sucked. The multiplayer was kind of fun though. But I don't know. This whole thing it's a harsh reality of online. And honestly, the bigger thing you guys should be upset about is when they finally shut down your ability to download games from the shop because they're going to do that one day.
There is something I am concerned about. So I did fire up my Wii U the other day because my brother was like, "Hey, I want to play zombies," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He meant Transit in Black Ops 2.
Oh, that's what he meant. Oh man,
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, it's really fun. Like
it is
it's
fun,
awesome.
yeah.
But it took me so long to get it running because one, the Wi-Fi card in my Wii U is like really shoddy now, so like it doesn't always connect to the router. And I could not find my LAN adapter, or my adapter to connect to Ethernet. So it took me, but eventually got it to connect. And the reason we had to get it to connect is because the game had to update, even though I'm pretty sure Black Ops 2 hasn't been like supported for years. For some reason, there still needed to be an update to it. And so I wonder what's going to happen when they stop providing firmware updates. Will some games just become not usable at all? Because if I was unable to connect my Wii U to the internet to get the update, that I would never be able to play that game, even though we have the disc. Like it was a forced, hey, this has to update or you can't play.
Yeah. It's not like Switch. Switch is actually pretty nice about that. You can just skip the updates and keep playing whatever's on the cart. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Weird. It's a weird time for Nintendo. And the thing is, that stuff's going to be shut down eventually too. And that I understand a bigger backlash for, especially since digital was actually starting to grow on those platforms. So I could be like, I get it. I get being upset when that happens. But it's going to. I hate to break that news to you. It's going to happen to PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 eventually too. They're going to shut down those servers. Liquid Death. That being said,
Someone in the chat asked.
Liquid Death looks really, really unhealthy and
it's not
dangerous.
it's not that bad.
Literally water.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm having the iced tea, but there's like no sugar in it. It's so much healthier than like anything else.
That's the whole point. It's like trying to look like it's this badass thing.
Like,
It's actually not even that bad. It's like not at all.
Hey, they keep it clean. They keep it clean, boys.
They do keep it clean.
Yeah.
So, does anyone think this what I spin doctored today has any relevance to when they're shutting this down?
I think it's a soft relevance.
Because April, it's literally the beginning of the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is relevant, but it's not like a hint that like, oh, that's when the Switch 2 is getting revealed or that's when it's coming out. I just think it means, yeah, Nintendo is transitioning their resources over. And I mean, it's just a sign of the times. I don't think that's it. That's all.
Pretty much all I said in my video.
Yeah, it's that's it. It's also probably like if we end up getting like those amiibo restocks, right? Like if the amiibo restocks do happen, I mean they are happening, right? Like and there's no other thing. It is because of Switch 2, but it's not because there's a big event happening. It's just because hey, they're just trying to push out the last of their stock or what have you because they're getting ready for a new generation. Like it's there are these things that are kind of tangentially related, but they're not like some sort of crazy hint that of what's to come. We already know what's to come. If you don't think Switch 2 is coming, you're in denial.
I don't know how many times Nintendo has to basically say we're always making new hardware. We're making new hardware. I can't talk about the new hardware, which actually is something that just came up this past week. When Shintaro Furukawa was asked the question, but we can get that into a moment.
I agree, but also the lights behind Nate and Eric look like two sock puppets that are about to like fight each other or make out. I don't know.
That's all right.
Yeah,
we show the love.
I had to say about that.
We show the love. We show the love. We show the love around here.
Just keeping it clean.
Yeah,
keeping it very clean. So, we can get into our second topic, which is probably finally a more cheerful, hopefully, like. I don't know. Metroid Prime 4 is involved with this topic, so maybe there'll be button heads between me and Andres because we seem to butt heads every time Metroid Prime 4 comes up. Although I don't think we're going to butt heads too much on this one.
I think it's probably a bogus rumor, but it may be true.
Well, yeah, when we get to that part, because we got some Nash Weedle stuff in here we'll go over, but also nothing he really said is like something that I didn't already assume was happening anyways.
Right. It's all things we're on the same page.
Yeah. So but we'll get to that in a moment. First, we can get to a couple of the more interesting things. First off, and this is something that a lot of us maybe expected, but maybe you didn't because, hey, Nintendo hasn't really had full AAA third-party support since the Super Nintendo. Let's just be honest about it. They just haven't. They've had some generations of more than others, but they've never really just had the whole industry being like, yeah, if our game can run there, we'll put it there. And Nintendo had systems, even through GameCube, that were powerful enough to get them, and they still weren't getting them. So it's not always just about power. That's the whole reason I brought that up. Sometimes it's just they don't think they're going to sell well. Now, what's interesting is that Tom Henderson, who is the founder of InsiderGaming.com, but also has been a journalist at many big outlets, put out a tweet that said he keeps hearing from a lot of third-party studios, and everything he keeps hearing about is that we're going to see basically launching on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC a heck of a lot in 12 to 18 months. Now, people maybe read too much into it and said, oh, the system's launching in 12 to 18 months. I mean, no, he's just saying like when the games are ready and coming out in 12 to 18 months, those games are pretty much going to, a large chunk of them are going to be also on Nintendo Switch 2, which is maybe something some of you guys expect, but it would be for Nintendo, I think, a big win if they can get all that third-party support. So what do we think? 2-inch destroyer, you're up.
Could you please turn the fireplace back up? Thank you.
It's just an
One thing that I wanted to just point out that I don't think gets mentioned enough that's related to everything is that I know that a lot of us are disappointed in the offerings that are brought to NSO and wish there was more systems and all this. But I do think one thing that hurt Nintendo was anytime someone tried to put a third-party game on the Wii U, their online like selection of like their virtual console was so good that 9 times out of 10 someone would buy a game off there over trying a new third party thing. And I do think that limiting that, well, it sucks. I think it has encouraged more Switch owners to buy third party titles when if there was the option to purchase stuff instead of having it on NSO, a lot of Nintendo fans would just buy those classic games over a lot of potential third party or new titles. I think that's one positive effect of how they did it.
You know what's interesting when you bring that up? You mentioned the Wii U. There has to be an audience to buy games. The only games that sold well on Wii U were first party Nintendo, and even they didn't sell that well. They sold well.
Yeah,
relative
no,
to
that's
system
what I'm
sales.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Virtual Console, I don't think really hurt third party sales. I just think the fact there was no one who owned the system hurt third party sales, because like Switch sales, NSO or not, like over 1 billion games have been sold, and those aren't all Nintendo games. You look at the eShop, 25 of the current top 30 selling games are third party games. It's very obvious that third party is much more popular on Switch than it ever was on Nintendo's prior platforms, and a large chunk of that's probably one form factor getting to play some of these big AAA games on the go. That's just really enticing for a lot of people. Other platforms, until these expensive handheld PCs came out, weren't really an option. And then you do that. People like playing indie games on the go as well. That's always been something people love to do, is playing indie games on the go. And you look at that top 25, it's a bunch of AAA and indie games, man. Like there's a really healthy mix in there. So third-party games are pretty popular on this generation. And I think because of that, maybe Nintendo wanted to even put an emphasis on this next go around that, hey, we actually want more third-party support, because there's a bunch of games like Assassin's Creed Mirage we're not getting. And we think if we got them and they were native and they performed well, would sell really, really well on our system. So I find it interesting when Tom Henderson's like, hey, man, a lot of these games are going to say, and Nintendo Switch 2 in the future, that are only on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. So, next gen, which it feels weird using the term next gen. It's current generation. But people still delineate because, hey, we have all these cross-gen titles still releasing on PS4 and Xbox. So, like, until that completely stops, I think people are going to keep using the term next gen. But I don't know. Like, what do you guys like Andres? What do you think about the third-party support thing? Like, do you think, one, that Tom is telling the truth? I mean, I guess we can't know, but and two, do you think it's a big deal that we get like the
is still
AAA
keeping it clean? But
stuff?
I'm just saying, Tom is a dweeb.
Okay.
He's an L7 square.
All right. Well,
Right.
back to what we were talking about. Andres,
Right.
what do you think it's like a huge deal that we get all the AAA third party games? Because I feel like that's what he was talking about.
I mean, I think it is a huge deal in terms of the quality of the system. I think
It must be pretty good performance wise if we're getting those games.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks well for that. It speaks well for people like me that don't feel like playing games on more than one platform at a time because they're extremely lazy and or don't want to spend $1,500.
Yeah,
so,
you love third party games.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Like them more than you think.
I said you love them, so
Yeah.
If there was more of them on Switch 2, he might buy more of them.
I would. I would.
Wait, let me ask you this because of what I was talking about earlier, Andres, and then you can continue your point. If there was a virtual console on Switch, would you be more inclined to buy virtual console games over a third-party Switch game?
No.
Okay.
I'm not like other people. It's Well, I mean, so to an extent, I think the answer has to be yes, because at the end of the day, right, every game is competing for the dollar, right? So if I spent $30 on 3 different virtual console games and there was a $30 game that I didn't buy because I didn't have $30, then the answer is yes, right? But
Yeah.
like if there's a major AAA third party game that I want to play, I'm gonna play it, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
there are
Of course.
certain games that if I want it, I'm gonna get it. Like that's just that simple. But I do think that maybe, I think there's something to what you're saying because
Would it hurt
I-
Nintendo games more than third-party games? Like you could buy old Mario games $10 a pop, or buy the new one.
I don't think so, because that's how they've done it. That's how they did it on 3DS. That's how they've always done it. And it didn't
Well,
hurt
so
them.
why would it hurt third-party games more than it would hurt Nintendo first-party games when a majority of the
Because-
offerings are Nintendo
because
games?
because they are Nintendo games. Like historically, like owners of Nintendo consoles buy them to play the Nintendo games. So when there's a virtual console Nintendo game for cheap over a brand new AAA first party Nintendo release, of course those Nintendo fans are going to want to play the new thing. But then when there isn't any new Nintendo stuff out and there's new third party games, a lot of them would choose virtual console games instead to tide them over.
So you don't think they'd be excited for a AAA game?
A AAA third party game, yes. But like some of the more like double
Oh,
A
the
ones,
indie, like the
Assassin's
indie
Creed
games.
Mirage, for example, yes. That's yeah.
Okay.
But and Andre said the same thing, and I do agree. Like, yeah, if there's a really big deal AAA third party game, that's different.
Yeah, as Christopher Moon says in the chat, we'll just make better games and it won't matter. I mean, there is a little bit of truth to that. Like, if you look at some of the most critically acclaimed indie games, they sell like crazy on Nintendo platforms because the critical acclaim hits social media, and before you know it, sales just boom for it. So I,
I
kind
just
of
think
think
people
like,
buy good games.
great
That's what
games
it
are going to
is.
sell. Yeah, great games are going to sell. Yeah,
I think that's really what it is.
yeah.
That all said, I would be very excited for third party games on Switch 2. Like, how does it move the needle in terms of sales? I'm not super certain on that. I mean, I want to say that ultimately it is a benefit. I don't know if it'll be the difference between Switch 2 like beating Switch 1 or not. Like, I don't know if it's going to be that significant of a difference, but
It could be
I
in game
think
sales though.
I think there's an opportunity for Nintendo that if the Switch 2 can prove to play console quality games to a level of fidelity that's
Acceptable.
comparable,
Yeah.
that the casual may not even notice much of a difference, then that's a huge win.
Win. Yeah, big.
And it makes the reason why people would buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series less of a reason. Like, if the reason you buy those systems is because you want the optimal like experience, and that still will be the case. But if it doesn't seem like that apparent to the mainstream consumer, then people are going to buy Switch 2 instead.
I think the
Because
big
it's
dead
both
giveaway.
portable and not.
If Switch 2 is powerful enough, I think the big dead giveaway will be, does the Switch 2 versions of the AAA multiplayer games have crossplay with PS5 and Xbox? And if they do, that is like a big sign that, hey, clearly the performance is way close enough that we could just crossplay and it's not a big deal.
Oh, because of frame rate.
Yeah, frame rate,
Yeah.
that's the big
I
thing.
have a
Yeah.
fun question. I know we've taken guesses and talked about what they're gonna call the Switch 2, and so I don't want to go back into that, but I am wondering, how important do you guys think them getting the name right on this system is? Like, same exact system, same exact specs, everything. They name it one thing versus naming it another thing. How much could naming it the wrong thing mess it up, just based on their history?
I don't think it's just the name that's
Well,
screwed
of
over
course
the
not.
Wii U.
That's what I'm saying.
but-
How much weight would you put on just the name?
Well, I guess what I'm
you're saying
trying
with
to
the Wii U. I got
so
you.
what I'm trying. I mean, the Wii U is a good example of how badly a poor name can impact a system. But what I want to kind of say is, I don't think it comes down to the name itself or on its own. I think it's just the overall vision of what the system is supposed to be and what they're trying to market it as, and the name is a part of that.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal piece to the marketing and branding of what a system is meant to be.
So
So
yeah,
if
I
they
guess what I'm
screw
asking
that
is
up
how pivotal? Like, could the
significantly, I mean,
wrong
I think
name
the Wii
tank
U.
tank a console for them again? Even if you don't think that was the full reason
So
of Wii U, and I agree.
I mean, well, I
More,
think regardless of what would have happened, even if they had an amazing marketing scheme for Wii U, the fact of the matter is they didn't have the games to back it up.
I'll say this. For me, a name is really important because branding is important. So if they mess up the name, you could see a drop off like from DS to 3DS, where it was half the sales of DS. Still
Yeah.
had games. You still had amazing stuff, happening. So it had games, it had support,
Yeah, and
but
the 3DS was better than DS in like every way. It was
and you
backwards
could play
compatible.
DS games. There was no reason not to really upgrade. But then was that
It
name
was
really that great of a name? Like
overpriced.
it sounds good.
At first it
3DS,
was, yeah.
right? Sounds neat. Oh, 3DS, a DS with 3D.
Good point.
But as like a branding name, it's very strange.
I think the
And I
3DS.
wonder if that impacted sales at all. Was the branding?
The thing about the 3DS though, I
And
think
then
that the 3DS
2DS.
had much better branding than the Wii U. Like the 3DS was an exciting
But did it?
idea concept.
Because when you hear 3DS and you hear DS, what do you think the difference is? Are you even aware that's a new system? Like we're aware because we're hardcore fans, but if you're casual, you hear DS and 3DS, what does that tell you?
I
You had
think it was
DSi XL, they had 2DS, 2DS XL. Like this branding wasn't that great.
I'll tell you that I don't remember that being a conversation point ever, that people were being confused about 3DS versus DS.
Well, it is the
And I
worst
also
selling handheld
think
system of all time.
it's at least safe to say that it was better than the Wii U situation.
But yeah,
which,
I
I
mean,
mean,
definitely
obviously,
But see, you just said the Wii U failed because of a number of factors. Well, the 3DS had a lot of those. A lot of 3DS didn't have all those same factors. But one thing we could say, if we're looking for just the impact of a name, is that maybe 3DS was actually, like the name itself, the branding was actually a problem.
That's actually
And it was actually a conversation back then. It was an actual conversation online that the branding was confusing.
I think there's a more glaring problem. Launch lineup.
Sure.
They did not have a strong launch lineup. It was horrendous.
Sure.
And as you said,
they had
the
Steel
initial
Diver
the launch
and
price
Street
of the
Fighter
3DS.
3D.
I know, but they did eventually come out with games, and the sales did pick up, but it never quite.
But the thing is,
DS didn't shoot out the gate with amazing sales. If you
You
actually
guys
look
are
at the
making
DS
good
sales,
points in that
it was year 2 and year 3.
They really need to
fully
have a
pick up
generation where they hit
whenever
the
a
nail on the
console
head on
launched.
all those things. Name, launch lineup, price. They really need to hit on all of those to keep the momentum up and up. Not
Having
even
a successful
just
system is
continue
not
to go
easy.
up.
It's not
No,
easy.
yeah.
I
was just saying
I'm more
that, like,
confident in them this
3DS
generation
had
than
less
I have been any
problems
other.
than Wii U is kind of my point. There were less problems with, like, it had games. Maybe the launch lineup sucked, but we can't say 3DS didn't have games.
There's another thing to factor into this. The DS, it sold incredibly well, and I think even if Nintendo came out with a killer, let's say they launched the 3DS with 3D Land, and then 3 months later came out with Ocarina of Time 3D. Like, let's say like their best games were up 6 to 9 months or something like that, right? Like, even if they did that, even if they released it at $200, I still don't think the 3DS would have outsold the DS. I mean, maybe it would have hit 100 million, but I don't think it would have.
I think the branding was completely confusing. It was literally being talked about back then.
Even if they called it Nintendo DS2, whatever you want to call it, the argument I'm trying to make here is simply that regardless of what they would have done, I don't think that where the market was at, they were going to beat DS numbers. The DS sold over 150 million copies. It's not copies because it's a system, but
systems,
units.
Yeah,
and a lot of that had to do with they caught lightning in a bottle. It's very similar to how the Wii, but even more so. The whole the whole Nintendogs thing, the touchscreen technology. Like, the DS came out before the iPhone.
Yep.
They took advantage of touchscreen technology. They really helped to popularize that tech, and it really brought in a lot of people. It got a lot of people excited, and they started to introduce things like Nintendogs, Brain Age. They brought in a much larger audience that eventually settled onto just playing smartphone games down the road, right? Like, so like that audience Nintendo captured during that generation was a one-time thing. And I don't think they were going to recapture that with 3DS. 3DS, I think, and Jake brought this up earlier. I think you said it, like, the 3DS seems like a better system than the DS. I actually think I agree with that. Like, as a core Nintendo fan, the 3DS, looking at its lineup of games and what that system did, it's a cooler system to me than the DS was, and I love the DS. But the point simply is I think that it wasn't going to happen. The same way, like, sometimes we might make a really good video, and no matter what we do with that video, no matter how we market it, no matter what time of day we put it in, just because of where the market's at this point in time, that video has a ceiling, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Wait, can I play devil's advocate for a second? Now that we're talking about this, it's got me thinking. So we said one of the reasons why the 3DS might not have done as well, it was priced so high at launch, but it was also backwards compatible, and it didn't do well. Do you think trying to get separate, that could be one reason that Nintendo might not want to do backwards compatibility for the Switch 2? Looking how the 3DS versus the DS sold. And again, I don't necessarily feel that way. I'm more just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I don't really feel like people didn't buy a 3DS because they could still play DS games. I don't think that's.
Well, I mean, bad launch lineup, and I do think it was a bad branding. I don't think the branding was good at all. I only say that because I have like family members who had DSs, and I'm like a Nintendo guy, and like I'm like, oh, I'm playing 3DS, and they're like, what the hell is a 3DS? Like, people just didn't really even, like, a general consumer didn't really understand what this thing is. Like, I have a DS. Why do I need a 3DS?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how many people actually gave a shit about the 3D part of it.
Well, there was that too. Yeah. That's why they released systems without it.
It wasn't a good gimmick.
Yeah.
No.
Right. I think that
Bad
also played
gimmick.
into it too. Yeah. You know,
it impressed media, but then it's like once you're past the novelty of it, it's like, okay,
right.
now what?
What was the benefit of me updating if I didn't give two flying craps about the 3D?
There's some games that are dope with with
sure.
3D.
Yeah, but that's here and there.
Sorry.
That's not
and because
Well,
it caused
I will
a lot of
say,
people headaches too.
It's a great question because you probably don't like just like the increased processing power, like the types of games that you can play on the 3DS, you could never play on the DS. I mean, that's like the big appeal.
Yep. There were Wii U games on the damn thing.
So let me ask you guys a question. Did the DS beat the PSP by a bigger margin than the 3DS beat the Vita?
No.
I would say yes, because it's like 156 million to 80 million, right? So that's 76 million.
That's beating it by like 100%. How much do you think the Vita sold?
Vita,
I have the numbers in front of me, so
yeah, I don't have the number in front of me, but Vita didn't sell 40 million.
Yeah,
the Vita sold.
So I think the 3DS outsold it. This is my guess, by 60 million. You consider that?
Yes, by total. But when people talk margins, they're talking.
I got it. Then obviously.
Yeah.
Like
the 3DS outsold Vita a lot.
By ratio, DS greatly outperformed the Vita. By sheer margin, like just like number, I think DS is technically did better.
It was like 80 million.
Right. Like it sold like 75 more million. But
the margin between the DS and the PSP is probably larger than all of the 3DSs sold ever.
It's about the total 3DS sales.
It's like the total of 3DS sales. Yeah.
But in terms of ratios, 3DS much greatly outperformed Vita. And what I'm getting at is that it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I think just that period of time, like, dedicated handhelds weren't doing extremely well. Sony canceled the Vita.
There's a lot of things at play though on why the Vita failed, just like the
But
Wii
it's
U.
also like the Vita, like a lot of people thought the Vita was a great system.
Switch.
Yeah, Sony never treated the Vita well. Or Vita. It's a good system.
They did at the very beginning when they put like Uncharted and a few.
Like launch was sweet, and then it just
it was like 3 months, and they're like, all right, Yeah.
Never done. Yeah.
What I wonder though is maybe Nintendo saw where even their handheld sales were going. They thought, okay, we got to do something about this because Nintendo's handheld market has always been strong. And when they had such a major dip, and then obviously the Wii was a complete failure, they were like, okay, we need to do
You
something
know,
to make this work. And they found it.
I think it's interesting when you bring that up because 3DS is technically their worst selling handheld ever, but it's only the worst selling handheld ever by like 5 million. And if you look at the the Game Boy lines, the Game Boy with the Game
Got a
Boy
little
Color,
shorter
because
lifespan.
they combine it together, Game Boy Advance, like it's right around 80 million. It really wasn't that short of what their handhelds were always doing before DS. Like it was within margin of error of what Game
Beautiful.
Boys were doing. The only thing 3DS failed to measure up to was the DS, but it still measured up to their prior handhelds. So their handheld market didn't really shrink that much. It just sort of showed that you said that lightning in a bottle that DS was, but their handheld market was still pretty damn strong. If anything else, what they were seeing is their home console market was not at all. And by the way, their home console market had never been as strong as their handheld market ever in any generation. There's not a single home console generation that came close to outselling the handheld generation at that given time, which is insane. Their handhelds, people don't think about this growing up. Their handhelds were actually their lead division. It wasn't their home consoles, but we focus on the home consoles because they get the bigger games. But handhelds always been big for them. So this all originally started when we were talking about the third party stuff,
Is
right?
there a better revenue split on home consoles though?
I think it's 30% either way, but you probably make more because the games cost more.
Systems cost more, but I know they.
I don't know
also
what the
cost more to
profit
make.
profit
Yeah.
margins, could be
Yeah.
different there.
Yeah,
Um,
profit margins.
So, to Jake's point, he was saying like, "Hey, how much does the title impact, or how much does the name of a system impact sales?" Obviously, we don't know. All we can do is guess. I was saying that 3DS, I don't think was a great name. A better name, maybe it sells an extra 25 million. Does that get it to, DS numbers? No, but that gets it to 100 million plus, which is still better than every other handheld but DS. In fact, that's better than every other Nintendo system, really, but DS. So that still would be considered pretty big success. People wouldn't really look at that as like, oh man, worst selling handheld they've ever had, technically. And say, but it still sold 75 million. That lets you just know how successful their handhelds have been. But we don't know. That's the big thing, is we don't really know what a bad name does. What we do know is what consistent branding does, because there's only one platform out of all of them that has consistent branding. Even when you look at back at the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation PSP, like the PlayStation Portable, PlayStation Vita, that's not consistent branding. It's not consistent. Yeah. Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox.
They should have called the
Series
PS
X.
Vita the PSP2.
There's no consistency with that branding. So then you look at what's the only platform that's been consistent in branding and is the one that's consistent in sales. PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. It's the most boring branding of all time. And also, it's the only one that's consistent between all the companies. And who's the company that consistently has the sales every generation? Sony never enters a generations and worries that they're not going to sell 80 million plus units every time.
PS3.
They still sold 80 million plus.
Yeah, barely.
That's the
and
worst.
They were worried for a long time, and they had to do a lot of price cuts.
Yeah, PS3 was bad for them at the beginning. But
was to Sony what the 3DS was to Nintendo.
But the 3DS wasn't that bad for the
started rough and finished strong.
So the thing about the PS3 though, they started at a $600 price tag, which seems expensive now.
Yeah,
that was back in 2006.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
But you think about it, it's crazy. That's their worst selling home console. Before Wii, that would have been Nintendo's best selling home console. So, like, to put it in perspective, still had consistent branding, still sold very well. There were other things they did that hurt it and prevented it from getting to the 100 mil. But that just goes to show that more than brand matters, but brand consistency can still keep you at a certain level. And Sony found out, okay, that certain level is like 60, 70, 80 million by keeping the branding.
Yeah. It's hard for us to say for certain, like just how much what impact. Like to what I agree that obviously it makes a difference. The question is how much of a difference. But I think we all can agree that what Nintendo needs to do is hit it out of the park in several categories. They need to get the branding right, they need to get the games right, and they should get the price right. Like they got to do it all.
If this
Yep,
isn't called
exactly,
Nintendo
exactly.
Switch 2, I don't know anything else they can call it that would work.
So the other day,
They literally are bringing Nintendo Switch Online forward.
Mhm.
It has Nintendo Switch in their online service that we pay for. Like, you
Yeah.
got to keep the
I
brand.
mean,
yeah. The other day, it wasn't this week's podcast, it was last week's podcast for me. So we played a game. We were like, all right, so try and come up with like the name for the Switch, right?
Yeah.
And I let Brandon and Sam, who was also guesting on the show, that night, each go first, and they took the two good names. So I had I had no option but to come up with something new. Like they took Switch 2 and they took Super Switch, which is like a solid alternative, I guess, right? So I was like, all right, well, what do I call it? Because it ain't gonna be,
The
I
Switch
tried to.
Cube.
Oh God, here we go.
I spent so much time like just trying to think of something that made sense. I spent too long on it. But ultimately I came up with a name, and I got the sense that everyone in my chat was like, hey, that sounds kind of cool. Admittedly, it sounds more like a code name, but I'm gonna say it. What I came up with was Switch Nova. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Right? It Nova does seem to kind of indicate, oh, like supernova. Like that's like strong. It's like more
Oh,
powerful.
I see where you're going with that.
Right? But also Nova sounds a little bit like Nuevo. New.
Here we go.
So anyway, that was just an idea, right? That it took. I spent a really long time trying to think of something that if Nintendo did would work, that isn't just straight up Switch 2. And that's what I came up with. Like I think the main point I'm trying to make here is I just wanted to say that because I think it sounds cool. But
it does sound
also,
cool.
Mhm.
I like the name. Like
Mhm.
it's like when people bring up Super Switch. It's like I like it. I think that's terrible branding.
do you
Didn't even
think
work.
Switch? But do you
Didn't
think
even work
Switch
for Super
Nova would be bad?
Nintendo.
Do you think Switch Nova would be bad branding?
Yes.
Why?
What about Nintendo Switch Advance?
Yes. Bad branding.
Okay, so but why would Nova be bad?
Because there's a lot of other things in the market called Switch blank, and Nova doesn't really indicate to people that it's a system. You gotta
So
have something that indicates a
all
new
right,
system.
So don't pick a number. Let's play the same game then. Don't pick a number. Don't call it Super Switch, which I think you already think is a bad idea anyway.
It is.
What do you call it?
You
can't call it Switch 2.
Why? Did numbers vanish from the English language?
Listen.
He's just saying, if you had to pick something that wasn't a number, what do you think the best?
I
thing
wouldn't
is?
pick anything that's not a number.
Right,
If
I
you
would
had
pick
to
It would-
gun to
I,
your head,
I wouldn't even consider it.
I'm about to shoot off one of your testicles. Which one?
but that's the hypothetical.
I don't need them anymore. I already
Do you
have
think-
children. I'm
but
good.
That means
what
your
if-
Nintendo
what if
Prime
we-
won.
What? Let's just say that Switch 2 is not on the table.
You still
for
get a prime
Nintendo as a
time with
name.
me. That's not a problem.
What are they going to call it? If they don't use the number,
I'm not
what
even
are they
willing
gonna
to
call it?
entertain the question
So
because I
are
think
you
anything
telling
else
me-
is a mistake.
Hey, someone in the chat said bait and switch. I do that every night before I go to
Ah.
sleep.
Oh,
There we
here
go.
we go.
Ah.
Here we go. Yeah, I'm not even willing to entertain the question, to be honest.
My two favorite.
Every
Watch.
successful product that releases sequels to it has a number. Every single, go look at it. Go look in all of technology.
Okay, that leads me to a question I was going to ask while Andre was
They
asking
all
about
have
the name
numbers.
thing. Do you think there's a different number, like the way Xbox used 360 and whatever?
No,
Do you think there's a different number that Nintendo could potentially use that would still be successful?
no,
Or do you think 2 is the only option?
it's the only option.
So it sounds like you're saying that that you're 100% committed to the idea that Nintendo's going to call their next system Switch 2.
I think it's the only thing that makes actual sense if you look.
I
at the
already
realm of
said
technology.
that the real Lavone Cason, and there's no other Lavone Casons. You don't need to indicate that you're the real one.
Yeah, like
The
it's
real
okay for
Slim
people.
Shady, please stand
Yeah,
up.
like I see people in the chat on our live version of this being like, Nate just tried. Look, they're all bad.
Yeah.
There isn't a good one. Like we can find things that sound good in our brain. My number one thing is if I'm Nintendo, I want it to sell. Every piece of technology that has sequels that uses numbers sells, and they use numbers that indicate it's a sequel to the prior thing.
Jake, this
that's why
is
the
your
3DS
fault.
That's why the
No,
3DS
Jake, this is
crushed
your
it.
fault. You brought the whole
But
name
even-
thing. We didn't even have to
but-
go in this
but-
direction.
But 3DS, again, I indicated there was no other number but 2. If they had called it Nintendo DS2, I think it would have sold better. 3 didn't tell you shit. and it showed off a feature a lot of people didn't even like. It was confusing. You don't put I'm not saying put the 2 at the beginning of Nintendo Switch. You don't go to Nintendo Switch. No, it's Nintendo Switch 2.
Wait,
They put the 2 at the beginning. It's a
Cody
mistake.
B in the chat said Nintendo Switch 4K. I thought of that too, but that's actually worse. That just sounds like another like OLED Switch. It just sounds like a new version.
Yeah, it sounds like a new
current
version of the
Switch.
same thing. Yeah.
Hey, they could do it. Continue the Switch family. We're gonna beat that PS.
It needs to be indicative that that it is a separate generation, that it is a new.
And
system.
by the way, if anybody throws out in the chat new Nintendo Switch, I'm gonna reach through the screen and punch you in the face.
Yeah, that's not. Hey, that's not keeping it clean. Now, I just gotta ask you guys if you want.
It's a clean punch. It's a clean punch. It's a clean punch.
All right.
No, you're
I
fine.
got it.
But if they recommend that in the chat, that's not keeping it clean.
I got it. Ready? Nintendo Switch Nuevo.
I knew he was gonna go that way. Yeah, they're totally gonna do that. No, they won't.
Yeah, that's what it is.
DOS. Switch DOS.
And you know what's
Nintendo
nice
Switch
about a
DOS.
number? Hey, you want to know what's so clean about a number? It cleanly translates the exact same in every language.
Do you think they would consider Nintendo Switch 69?
No.
Well,
I mean, you know, look, if the Nintendo Switch, dude, if the Nintendo Switch is still going as a brand like 300 years from now, yeah, maybe there's a 69th version.
No, what they'll do,
all right, I hope it's Nintendo Switch 2.
I don't think it's still going to be going to 200, 300 years.
What they'll
from now,
do
but-
though
I can't wait
is
for PlayStation 69.
they'll
I'm gonna be frozen just for that.
Dude, they should call. No. Here's what they do. They call it because there's that whole PlayStation Pro potentially coming out next year. Call it the PlayStation 6.9. Just confuse everyone because we're at PS5. Now you're just throwing everyone for a loop. What does the 6.9 mean? Everyone knows because the logo that have the dot be so small that it literally just looks like 69.
Oh yeah, I don't even. It could have no games. I'd buy it.
People would buy it just for the memes.
No, what they would do is they'd get the 68 and then they'd pull a Samsung and go to the year. Because they Samsung with the Galaxies, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden, for some ungodly ass reason, they decided to go. Now we're going by year.
Yeah, but it's still a
So-
number that indicates
Yeah,
the
but-
new. But yeah, it was
but they'll
confusing
completely
when they made
They'll
the Switch.
completely
It was
skip over 69. Is what I'm saying.
When they made the Switch, yeah. It's interesting because I know Andres just wanted me to have some fun and come up with a really interesting brand new possible name, and I know guys are disappointed.
But
I'm
you
not
don't
willing
own
to play.
him, Andres.
I know that I'm not willing to play ball, but that's because I have seen so many different people throw out all these different names, even in the chat tonight, so many different names. And I keep going. All of these names sound so confusing compared to Nintendo Switch 2. I don't know why you would go away from a proven strategy in the technology world.
Well, they wouldn't be going away because we've never been there.
I guess you got that. But that's the thing. Like, they've done this in the past and it's never worked out for them. So why keep going? Why keep making the same mistakes in the past?
Well,
So-
I mean, it worked out
Hold on.
for the Wii.
But no. The
No.
Wii was a whole brand new thing. It's just like Switch. It was
No.
a brand new thing.
Right.
Right.
But like
So
Super
it's the next
Nintendo,
generation console.
Super Nintendo was an iterative system of the NES. N64 was technically an iterative system of the Super Nintendo, et cetera,
It
et
didn't
cetera,
ha-
et cetera.
it
But they
didn't have
kept
it.
using these different names.
The Wii
for
literally
them.
was a GameCube.
Well, okay, there's that. But we all know what Wii really represented at the time. The given.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the Wii, not the Wii U.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Why are we talking about the Wii U? The ambulance isn't here.
Mhm.
No ambulance.
Wii U.
No ambulance.
So can we actually talk about the topic?
Yeah. Well, so so
No.
this all really started with the third-party game thing, and the reason I brought it up is there's one thing that Sony does do that Nintendo doesn't in terms of having all this third-party support. Did you guys know Nintendo Switch is the first Nintendo system to move 1 billion in software? The first in Nintendo history to move 1 billion. Not even the 150 million selling DS could do it.
That's what they should call the next Switch. Nintendo Switch Billion.
So I bring this up because
Oh, yeah.
PlayStation seems to consistently sell 1 billion in software every generation. one big thing they have Nintendo doesn't is all the third party support. So if Nintendo now gets all the third party support, I do see a world where this starts to guarantee they start to move $1 billion in software this next generation. So maybe Switch 2 doesn't sell 130, 140 million units. Let's say it sells 115 million, like PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4, sorry. It can still move $1 billion in software because there'll be even more software people want to play available on the platform. So that was sort of what I was getting at with Tom Henderson when he said this, and like how this could actually be a really big deal for Nintendo because they haven't had full third-party support since the Super Nintendo. And if they get it back, the full third-party cross-gen, day and date, with reasonable performance and reasonable looking games, I kind of think it's just going to boost the overall software sales on the system. That's what I was trying to get at originally before we spun off into everything else.
I'm personally very excited at the prospect of playing a new Monster Hunter next year on my Nintendo Switch 2, not just on my fancy 4K television, but also cuddled up in my bed right after I was playing on my 4K fancy television.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
And
looking forward
potentially playing online if you do that, and you could play even with people on PS5.
Yeah, maybe with you until I get into a fight.
I'll probably be playing it on Switch. Here's the thing.
Hmm.
If it gets all the third-party support, it's almost going to kill me playing the other platforms. I'm going to buy all my third-party games on it.
I have a Nintendo bias. Like, if it looks and plays good enough, I'll play it on my Switch instead.
But it's me. It's not a bias. It's I get to play it on my TV, and it looks almost as good as the other systems, and I can take it with me.
Well,
yeah,
the
why
thing
would
is,
I do that? It's like double the value for me.
I prefer the controller. I prefer playing. I also like having the option of playing portable mode. So there are.
It's the best of
rational
both
reasons,
worlds.
but-
It's the best of, like, that's why. It's not because the bias. If PlayStation 5 was instead a Switch-like device, yeah, I'd have a real debate then about which system I'm going to buy the damn games on. But it's not. So the only thing I would really use for PS5 is when I want to play those day and date Sony exclusives, like Spider-Man 2. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about a world where Nintendo gets full AAA third-party support because we haven't had that world. And I'm going to be honest, probably a lot of people watching this podcast weren't even alive the last time that happened to a Nintendo system. Because we're talking early 90s, man. All right, so there's more Switch 2 stuff here, by the way. What do we want to get to do? We want to do
the nasty rumor.
So we could touch the Nash Weedle stuff, or do you want to go to the Furukawa stuff?
Furukawa stuff seems more relevant.
Okay, we do the Furukawa stuff. But a lot of videos on the Furukawa interview. For those who don't know, Furukawa did an interview with Nick K, and he was asked some very pointed questions. Credit to Nick K for being willing to ask questions that they probably knew they weren't going to get direct answers for, including, hey, how are you going to handle the transition to your next generation system, Switch 2 or whatever? I can't remember if they used the word Switch 2 or not, but either way, Furukawa literally was like, I can't talk about that system right now. Admitting it exists, by the way, just so you know. In the first line, Furukawa just says, we can't talk about it right now, which admits there's something to talk about. Anyways, I just want to throw that out there. I'm tired of the people saying the thing doesn't exist. Furukawa basically just acknowledged its existence by saying there is something to talk about that he can't talk about. Anyways, he also further responded to that question.
I am not eating this zebra cake.
By talking about, because the question had something to do with like what new innovation or how are they going to keep it fresh or whatever. And he just sort of went into a little bit of a spiel about how it's not just about keeping the new or the next system, I think is what Furukawa technically called it, fresh, but this is just a mantra with Nintendo in general, whether it's their software or anything else. And then he was asked, well, hey, how long are you going to support Nintendo Switch for? And he just said, we will have new games for Nintendo Switch through fiscal year of March 2025.
I want to point out that it was never said that will be the end. And some people ran with it being the end of Switch, which...
No, it was never said. The interesting point in the wording, though...
Yeah, also, it was never even said.
Yeah. The interesting point in the way he worded that, though, and I think this is why people kind of feel like, oh, it's going to end then. I'm like, yeah, there'll probably still be some games from Nintendo at some ports or something. But I kept thinking about it. I looked back at prior interviews when he was asked about future Switch support, and he always said we will be supporting Switch for years to come. He didn't do that this time. He specifically gave through next fiscal year, basically, which is very interesting because it also makes me wonder. Because we're under the presumption Switch 2 is coming out next year, so it makes me wonder that if Switch 2 is coming next year, if Nintendo's been even thinking about what support for Switch looks like after next fiscal year yet. If they've even put that on the agenda, because they're so focused on we got to get the current slate, and then we have to get obviously the system launched, and like that's like the big focus internally. And right now at this time, they're not really even thinking beyond March of next year or March of 2025, the next fiscal year for Switch. Not that there won't be more, but like the fact that he specifically gave a date when he's never done that in the past, I found that to be at least noteworthy, to suggest that they're obviously focused on something else other than future years of Switch. Which, by the way, we already knew the people that acted like this was like a big deal. Oh man, they're going to support Switch in this fiscal year. We already knew it because they said Luigi's Mansion HD comes out in summer, which would be next fiscal year.
Oh, 1,000 Year Door is 2024.
Yeah,
Like,
we don't know. We can't.
It
We
ain't
presume
coming
it's
out
going to be.
before. It ain't coming out before April.
Yeah, we presume, but technically, I can't be like, oh, that's definitively. I don't know, but we do know one game they said is coming summer next year, which is the next fiscal year.
99.9% 1,000 Year Door is coming out April or later.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But again, I like even in my video, I only really brought up Luigi because I'm like, hey, they technically gave us a time frame for it.
Mhm.
That time frame already landed in the next fiscal year, so we already knew they were supporting it in the next fiscal year. It was just interesting that he wouldn't go beyond that in the interview when in the past he's always said, for years to come. So it's not. By the way, again, as Andres said, this isn't saying there won't be more ports and remasters and other games coming to Switch past. It's just it's interesting that it doesn't really seem to be thinking about that right now. So I don't know. What do you think? This is very interesting. This is just my take, my perspective. You know what? Before I throw it to you two, Eric, what do you think? You've been talking too much.
Yeah, I know.
So I figured I'd get you out of the way now,
Yeah.
so I can shut you up.
Yeah,
I support that.
I don't know. I got nothing really. I mean, it.
Whoa, now you're talking a
yeah,
lot.
right?
Well, let's go.
Yeah, right. Calm down.
Oh, so let me maybe phrase it to you this way. Do you think when he was talking about the future of Switch and how long, the support is going to go, and he, at least till March of 2025, do you think that was just to indicate, hey, we have something coming? Or do you think it just
possibly?
doesn't, or do you think it's just irrelevant?
I don't think it matters much. He just, I mean,
Man, I know you want the
God.
system already.
I mean,
you wish it was
yeah,
here today.
I wanted it yesterday. But I don't know if it necessarily you can read into it, and I can see how people are reading into it that it is an indication that the new system's coming out next year. But I think it's more of the I can't talk about the next system type thing.
Yeah,
that's more of the indicator.
That was a very interesting, asked specifically about it, and he's like, "Look, I can't talk about that right now." And it's like, well, so there's something to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
not
like we don't know,
but
he's like, okay, I'm well aware all of you guys know, but I can't really even say anything. So,
I mean, to an extent, though, sometimes with what Nintendo says, I mean, we're all expecting it to for sure. Their plans right now. They have, I think, like you said, they're for sure through 2024 is what they have their plans. Whether they continue their support past, Jesus Christ, cool.
We're having some
Nice.
fun in the chat.
Yep. Shit. Where am I going with this?
Gather your thoughts.
Yeah.
He wasn't prepared to talk on this ever.
No.
He was sent the topics 2 hours early.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I'm looking at them because
I don't even think you read them.
No, I didn't because I was at work.
The whole time.
I actually had a busy day today.
The whole time you weren't at my house for a few hours before
I
the
was
show.
playing Switch. God, I actually had the game this week. Otherwise, I'm going to be the stupid loser who doesn't game again.
You bastard! That was me.
No, I said again.
But I've had weeks I haven't gamed.
Yeah, but it's more normal for me.
I did try out a new accessory.
Oh, there you go. But I think it says more to the
nice
fact
plunger.
that they have their plans out through 2025. It doesn't mean that they won't extend it past March of 2025. It's just that this is what they have so far for the Switch, and they haven't really thought past that yet, maybe. So,
Sure.
because they may have a new system coming out, but yeah,
Who knows?
it's more of a, this is what we have right now, currently on slate. This may obviously it's Nintendo. Anything they say is subject to change. So it's I
So
think that's kind of more where it's at.
yeah, that's fair. My biggest takeaway from the news is that it's something I expected, but it's confirmation to me that Switch is going to be supported at least somewhat beyond Switch 2, which wasn't written in stone. It just seemed really likely because we've seen a lot of Nintendo systems die out before the next system comes. And what we're seeing here,
Interesting.
assuming Switch 2 does come out in 2024, which is, I'm going to say, pretty much a foregone conclusion, but obviously we don't know for sure. But we know that Switch 2 is going to be supported until at least March 2025.
But do we? Because he said fiscal year ending March 2025. If they
Right.
don't announce any more games and Thousand Year Door is the last one that dropped, they could drop that before Switch 2 comes out. And then there isn't actually support into Switch 2. Because remember, he said fiscal year. He didn't say we're going to have a new game like coming out in March. No, he said fiscal year.
Yeah, fiscal year ends March 2025.
Yeah. Well, so, but if Switch 2 comes out in that same fiscal year, there's no guarantee that there's actual other Switch games releasing into Switch 2 because they can release all the games before Switch 2
Are you
comes out.
saying that technically he wouldn't have lied if the only two Switch games we get are Paper Mario and Luigi's Mansion?
Well, we already know he didn't lie because we have Luigi's Mansion next summer. That already makes what he said the truth.
I guess what you're suggesting is that one or two games counts as support throughout the entire fiscal year.
He just said there will be games for Nintendo Switch in that fiscal year. That's all he said. He didn't say how many. He didn't
just
say it'd be
said that.
spread out throughout.
He
Like
just
if you,
said it.
I'm just saying, yeah. I'm saying though, if you look at his words, he never said that they're going to keep releasing games all throughout that fiscal year. Just that there will be games. I know it's a little bit of a devil's advocate take because I agree with you. There's going to be some games that come out after Nintendo Switch 2. I'm just like, I want to make sure we're clear that Furukawa didn't actually say specifically there would be games coming out in March of 2025. That's all.
The article.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. I can grab it quickly over here too. It's on the one that actually has the quotes.
Sure.
Some of them don't have the quotes.
Let's read them verbatim.
Yeah, I'll grab them quick. And I was gonna be like, oh, I could use you to translate. Then I realized that like it's in Portuguese.
Yeah, Portuguese is not
So
Spanish.
not Spanish. It's not Spanish now.
No.
I gotta find the article.
I could still roughly understand, but
Portuguese actually translates. I found in Google Translate really cleanly, so it's not too bad. Just Spanish translates pretty well too. Gotta remember what day was that? What day was this news? Oh, here it is. I think
it wasn't long ago.
It was October 1st. I got it. Or was it October? Yeah, October 2nd.
Yes.
So here's what he said. Can the Switch's life cycle be extended further? This was the question. Furukawa responds, we are still working on Nintendo Switch software for the fiscal year ending March 2025. The momentum will be sustained to continue to expand Switch business. In the fiscal year ending March 2024, we will keep up the Zelda momentum and move into the holiday sales season. In terms of hardware, we will maximize demand, not only for new purchases, but also for second units and replacements. So as he said, we're still working on Nintendo Switch software for fiscal year ending March 2025, which technically we already knew was true because Luigi's Mansion comes out next fiscal year.
Yeah.
He didn't say games through that fiscal year, just that there would be support for it in that fiscal year.
My interpretation.
I don't want to put words into his mouth.
So I guess if Nintendo were to not come out with any other games beyond Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion, and we took him to court, he'd be like, "Hey, this is what I said. I didn't lie. You'd be right. But I think the implication is that there's going to be more than just those 2 games coming out for Switch in the next fiscal year.
Well, okay. And to clarify, people, we're talking about Nintendo published, not like
Yeah,
in
we're
general.
talking
There's
exactly.
there's going to be games in general coming out,
Mhm.
obviously. Like,
Well, you don't know that.
yeah, indie games are not going to come out. I mean,
Well, that's what the point you're making is basically the point you're making.
well, no, because indie games weren't asked about their support directly. Nintendo was.
No, what I'm saying is that making the assumption that there's going to be games when the developers
There are
haven't
already indie
confirmed
games
to us-
announced for Switch. There are already indie games announced for Switch into 2025 right now. Like
as there
there
are
already-
Nintendo games
there are no Nintendo games announced for 2025
for
the
fiscal
one.
year ending in March 2025.
Yes.
That's what we're talking
for
about.
fiscal year. Right now, we have 2 games announced for 2024 that we presume are going to come out after April. One we know.
And what I'm
One- the
saying
other
is
one we
you
assume.
presume there will be more third-party games that are not currently slated for that fiscal year.
Well, I don't presume because they're already announced. So I don't know what
But you're presuming there will be more.
He just said he doesn't presume ever. Just
No,
said I
no.
don't presume.
Never presume.
I didn't say ever. Hold on. Don't ever to go. I'm saying I'm not presuming games that aren't announced yet. I
Okay, that's not what you
know
said,
there's
but okay.
games already announced into 2025 from third-party companies. That I
Oh,
already know. That's already happened. There
Typically.
isn't technically games for Nintendo announced beyond next year for Switch.
Published
Technically.
titles.
Technically, there's
Published
nothing announced.
because there are games.
Oh yeah. Nintendo
Nintendo
published
published.
titles for Switch.
This is all semantic bullshit. We all know.
Yeah,
that
I hate.
there's gonna
Yeah,
be-
we know what we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
This
hey,
is all clearing the
semantics.
gotcha.
Not
We're just
keeping it
clearing the
clean.
gotchas where people take a clip, they throw it online.
Right.
Oh, you're an idiot! I'm like, God, we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm just clarifying. I understand that you're interpreting it as there's going to be games coming out after Switch 2, and I do agree with that general premise.
Wait. Are
I
you
just wanna make sure that we
clarifying
know
or
that-
presuming? Because you just said one thing, and now you're saying you're doing something
No,
else.
I am presuming there will be.
So you're not
However,
clarifying.
well, it is a clarification of my opinion.
Hey,
No,
Nate. Let me
are
tell you
presuming or
something.
clarifying?
Nate, let me
No,
tell you
no, no,
something.
no. You can clarify my opinion, which involves a presumption.
Nate, let me tell you something. No matter how clarified you may be on whatever you say, someone is going to misinterpret it. In fact, I bet a lot of people will, and they'll just completely slander you and make a whole bunch of lies because that's just what happens when you're a YouTuber.
Yeah, it does all the time.
Not even a YouTuber. I think you just when you have a voice online.
Yeah,
That's
if
what
anyone that pays
happens.
attention to anything you say, it's going to happen. But I guess my point was, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't indicate that Furukawa was making a promise he didn't make. He just promised there would be software next fiscal year. That's it. That's all he really said. But now we can move beyond that little semantic, stupid bullshit that we were just going over for no reason and go, what are your full thoughts on all of this? From the whole, I can't talk about that specific topic right now, which is what he said when asked directly about Switch 2. But it's actually kind of interesting what he said, because we are constantly researching and developing hardware. And then he says, but for I have it up right now, so I'm going to read the quotes. But so the question, let's go from the beginning. The question was, how will you apply the spirit of originality to the Switch's successor? Furukawa said, I can't talk about the specific topic. We are constantly researching and developing hardware. But for the fiscal year ending March 2024, our focus is on expanding the Switch business. And the biggest obstacle at any time, not just limited to the next console, is knowing whether we can deliver something that customers really want, which I find interesting because everyone talks like the question was originality, gimmicks, right? What's going to be that new thing that's going to make it stand out? And he's just like, we're worried about delivering what customers want. I find that fascinating because it could indicate maybe there is no major gimmick for this next system because they realize that's not what customers want. I find that interesting. I've never seen him say
I feel
our
like,
focus is on what
they have
customers
something
want.
hidden up their sleeve about this.
Oh, there's always something hidden up their sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Zelda
I'm
remake.
excited about it, though. I think it's
Zelda
going to be a
remake.
cool thing.
Hey, there is that mention of Zelda. We will keep the Zelda momentum. What do you mean you're going to keep the momentum? Wait a second.
Yeah. The way I initially interpreted that was okay. They're gonna do things to keep Tears of the Kingdom selling throughout the
Yeah,
holidays.
Bundles and
yeah.
other things.
Yeah, and like capitalize on the Mario movie popularity and just kind of stay strong, keep relevant.
Dude, watch them bundle Mario Wonder and the Mario movie together. I can see them doing that this holiday at some stores. Some stores
I-
might just do it themselves.
Sounds kind of
anyways.
wild, but maybe.
I really do think a Zelda remake could be announced
Don't do this to me.
within the
Alex.
next 2 years.
Oh,
Ocarina.
all right. Well, then I mean, yeah, there's going to be one announced in the next 2 years. Come on.
A remake.
Oh,
Yes, a
No.
remake. Yeah,
A
Grezza.
remake
They're
of a
doing one.
3D Zelda.
Ocarina of Time 3D. I agree.
Yes.
I think that's technically considered a remaster, but I'm talking
Yeah, if
about
they
like,
just
So we had
HD'd it,
Ocarina
it
of Time
would be a
3D. Now
remaster.
we're gonna have Ocarina of Time 4K. Let's go.
No, so you think a 3D Zelda is going to get a full from the ground up remake? A 3D Zelda?
I want it
warming
to.
up to it.
So the only what are the real options? And the only real options are Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
They're
Well,
only gonna do
Twilight
one.
Princess
If
and
they're gonna
Wind
do
Waker
one of
are
those,
also-
they're obviously gonna
But
pick
you
Ocarina.
think Wind Waker would need a from the ground? Have you played Wind Waker HD?
Yeah.
You think that
Wind
needs a
Waker
from the
HD still
ground?
hasn't come out. Like that's still in the bank for
if you-
the support the HD.
Yeah.
Spoiler, I'm gonna make a video about this week, but
Oh, I can't wait.
but basically I think it comes down to either Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Twilight Princess is an interesting one because I could see where obviously it hasn't aged as well because it's more realistic art style. But I kind of think Nintendo would just bring over the HD version they've already
Yeah.
made.
Again, that's the same thing as Wind Waker, and I don't know. I think
Wind Waker's
that
more
no
timeless.
game needs to
but-
be built up more than Ocarina. And judging how mixed the fan base is on Twilight Princess today, like current day, that one doesn't make sense to me.
I want
would
to point
say-
out Twilight Princess before Breath of the Wild was the best-selling Zelda.
It was,
game.
yeah, it was, yeah.
So if there's a game from that perspective to remake, it's that one.
I would
It's
say
not going to
though,
be the highest Metacritic rated game of all time that people scroll by all the time, and
Well,
tons of
Twilight
people
Princess was
that are
very
under
high
20
on
years old
Metacritic.
haven't played it.
okay, and I want to be clear: the difference in sales between the original Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess isn't like massive. It's not a gulf.
No,
The original
well,
Ocarina of Time sold over 7 million.
so,
on
and
N64,
just to be
so.
clear,
Yeah.
so I want to make myself clear, right? I'm not saying that Twilight Princess remake is more likely than Ocarina of Time remake.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that
One
of
of
the
those
3D
two.
Zeldas,
Yeah,
I
those
think
are the
it's got to
two.
be one of those two.
Watch it be Majora's Mask before all. That just won't even make. Oh, you can't do
Well,
Majora's Mask before Ocarina of Time.
That's why,
Right.
because
Yeah,
otherwise I would agree that Majora's Mask makes more sense than Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
But so I mean, yes, ultimately I do think Ocarina of Time.
I
is the
hope
most
you're
likely,
right, and that it's like
but-
Ocarina of Time fully remade
See-
from the ground up. Everyone's been wanting that since it came out.
I can go into,
I
can
would go
into
as
more
far
why I
as to
think it
say
makes
that there's
sense
no
in a minute,
chance
David.
of it being Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. The only choice would be
Yeah.
Ocarina.
When you said remake, I was thinking like Grezza would be doing something that they did with Link's Awakening to another game.
But again, that's just my opinion.
I'm
keep
not,
it clean.
I don't mean a top-down Zelda. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
'cause
a top-down Zelda is coming. I think that's also.
I hope it's a brand new one, but
Me too.
I don't know.
But
What if it takes place in the Breath of the Wild universe, but it's top down?
That'd be crazy.
That'd be kind of cool.
They
New
did have
perspective.
a Breath of the Wild. They used the original Legend of Zelda to kind of prototype some mechanics for Breath of the Wild. Like building a top-down Zelda with that in mind would be really cool.
You guys
would be
can't tell when
super cool.
Zelda comes up, it derails everything.
I think I'm kind of miss talking about Zelda. I think we need a little bit more.
I know.
We need some Zelda news.
Or a spoiler cast too. There's so much we didn't get into in the first one.
Mhm.
We could definitely do a second.
What if, though, with the Zelda momentum, they actually, with the writer's strike now concluding, and SAG-AFTRA now like in talks and hopefully going well, what if they come out with the Zelda movie?
Eric,
announcement? What,
you
shut
sick
up! I know
son of a-
I'm going
you-
back. I'm going away.
You
Bye.
keep it nasty. I know, Eric. He told me before the show. He's like, I like my Zelda like I like my women. I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, top down, baby.
Oh, hey-o.
I didn't mean to out you, bro.
Hey.
Nice.
I love it.
That was a good one.
I love it.
That
That's
was
valid.
a good one.
That's valid.
right.
So turning it back around, I guess. What was so I'm just wondering like your full thoughts on everything Furukawa said here in relation to what it could mean for Switch 2. Or do you think it doesn't really mean much? It's just it's coming, and this just sort of indicated it's coming.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where he has to tippy toe around. the situation.
I can't talk about that specific
Yeah.
topic, but we're always making new hardware. It's like, okay,
Yeah. There was no deconfirmation of hardware in the next fiscal
No.
year, which I think is good, is interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
he has done that before.
The only thing he what he did though is he sort of, I don't want to say he confirmed. His wording was very specific, but it sounded like it's not coming out this fiscal year. He made it like so people that think it's coming out in March. He made it really sound like
Sure.
not this year.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's something I sort of glossed over because I've already been making that assumption for a
Yeah.
while.
But again,
yeah.
technically, if you read his words, he didn't say it couldn't come out, but he said that this is what we're focused on for this fiscal year through March of 2024, and that's probably true. That also doesn't mean they can't announce it before then, but for the actual sales and what they're pushing, like, yeah, it's going to be current Switch this fiscal year.
Yeah, I mean, I know you disagree with this take, right? But once Nintendo outlined their January through March lineup of their published titles, to me that said most likely it's not coming. It's not happening
Yeah.
during this period of time. So
I also
most
have a
likely
theory.
there is no certainty, right? But
I want to ask your thought on this quick too. When I heard this about the focus on this, and I'm even going back to like, oh, they're ending support for Wii U and 3DS in April. It made me think about April really hard because the fiscal year ends in March, but we don't hear about the financial results from that usually until about a month later. So the end of April or the very beginning of the next month. And I think Nintendo is going to want the new system announced before they announce the final year results, because they're going to want to show something to create momentum for the new year. So I'm starting to think that maybe April is when they finally unveil the system instead of it being in the first 3 months. They clear the first 3 games, including the brand new Peach game. They clear the Peach game, or the Princess Peach Showtime game. That's cleared out. The fiscal year just wrapped up. They didn't do anything to hurt, quote unquote, hurt Switch sales during the fiscal year. New year is here, new fiscal year for them. Announce the system and so they can be able to handle those questions they're inevitably going to get from investors anyways. When the financial results come in and they're like, oh, we didn't quite hit the 15 million. Like I warned you, we might not hit. Oh, maybe we didn't quite hit our targets. And it's like, but it doesn't matter because look at what's coming and look at the social media hype around it and look at the views on this trailer and blah, 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 blah.
I guess April just seems like a random time because if we don't get any news until April, that's going to be weird in my opinion.
I don't think he's suggesting that.
Well, I mean,
I'm not suggesting it gets announced in April, right? Like it would still be announced
Oh.
in the next few months, like by
Well,
February latest.
I was suggesting announced in April.
Oh, so you think it's gonna launch right when they announce it? If it
No.
came out in April?
I think announce in April, release in like September.
Oh, I literally thought you were talking about an April release.
No.
I guess there's a few things that I have some hesitance with that. One, we've been hearing about this March time. Like, what is that March? Like, what is that?
But remember, Nate the Hate said that could just indicate an internal thing. Like third parties have to confirm by March for launch.
And maybe that's
I don't know if you knew this,
about.
but Nate the Hate said that could just indicate an internal thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, Dill the Pickle, let's calm down.
It may
Hey,
even be the
Dill
case
popping
that
in here.
those that heard that Switch 2 would be announced.
Well, no, you misspelled Dill.
Maybe they just meant that was just confused
my
with the
name.
tech demos we heard about at Gamescom.
I thought you were 2-inch.
That's my formal name on my license.
All right. Sorry, we're interrupting now just too much. I actually really want to know your thoughts on this because this just popped in my head, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm committed to this, but I don't know. It sounded like a good idea. It sounded like a good idea in my head, but my ideas sometimes suck. So,
I mean, it's interesting.
I mean, they've never really announced the system in April, I don't think. Looking back at their history, I don't think they've ever really announced one in April. So it's, I don't know. I mean, it's after the fiscal year. It's the beginning of the new fiscal year, but before the reports come in.
The other thing I was going to say was that if Nintendo doesn't announce the Switch 2 all the way until April, then they're going to have some type of direct before then.
You were talking about the February direct.
I would assume a general direct.
The February.
Then. if there's no just Switch 2 announcement by that point. And there's gonna be games announced for April, May, and June. So like
What if they
no
do
matter
this
when
instead?
you showcase the system, there's gonna be something coming
But
out
what
around
if
that
they?
time.
Okay, so yeah, but they could announce say, hey, Luigi's Mansion is coming out in June, and there is no April game. But what I find interesting is what if
Poor May.
because I say this because they sort of did. No, they didn't sort of. They did this with Switch. What if we get to February, everyone's expecting a direct, right? Like, okay, they gotta have a direct. They gotta have a direct. Instead, they drop an announcement. Tune in April, blah blah blah, for the reveal of what's next for Nintendo. They did this with the Switch, by the way. They gave us months warning that they were dropping the announcement in October. So what if they said, oh, that's what this, instead of it being a February direct, like, no, we're not going to have one right now, but we have a reason because we're going to give you the date to see what's next. Now, again, they had a bigger reason to do that with Switch than they do now because Wii U bombed and yada. But I'm just throwing that out there as like, you know what? Maybe they don't have to have a February direct.
I guess
Or
something else that I'm concerned
could also
about.
just be a partner showcase.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about though is Nintendo going a long time without giving us anything exciting. Like
Partner showcase in the indie world, baby.
and that's not what I meant.
I know, but
Yeah.
well, what if there's Hollow Knight in there? That might make people happy. Hollow Knight release date.
I am sure that will make some people happy.
Some people.
Yes.
Is the chat going nuts? Because I just want a Hollow Knight release date. That's all I really care about right now.
I think that they're gonna have to do something to kind of keep us excited because with the last 2 directs, I mean, some people actually were really big on the June direct. I wasn't.
Princess Peach Showtime direct.
Sure.
I'm just throwing options out there. Like, here's the thing. You said they got to give us something to be excited about. You don't think if they announced in February and April reveal for a new system, people wouldn't be excited?
Yeah. I'd be excited.
I think they'd be more excited than just a general direct with more Switch games.
I'm hoping the Game Awards has more than a Bayonetta Origins announcement.
Yeah, I think obviously your hope is that they tease the system before the February direct, so then they can have a direct with both.
I want something. I want something. I don't need anything big. It would be nice if Nintendo at least acknowledge. So we at least have a little bit of some excitement going. Like even if like something as simple, it's not simple, but like what if we get a Prime 4 teaser at the Game Awards? It's not even saying what this is. They just, something. Actually, obviously this is probably not what we're going to do because this would be unprecedented as far as I'm concerned when it comes to Nintendo. But imagine they put out a Metro Prime 4 trailer at the Game Awards. Right?
I wonder if we're on the same wavelength right now. Hold on.
Huh?
No, keep going. I think we're thinking the same thing right now. Go.
They put out a 90-second trailer, right? Very comparable to the first trailer for Tears of the Kingdom when it was just called the sequel, right?
Yeah.
And at the very end, coming to Nintendo Switch and the next generation of Nintendo Switch, 2024. Like something like that would be very cool. They wouldn't even have to reveal the name. They wouldn't have to necessarily reveal like that. But that's it.
We were on the same wave, except I was gonna say instead of them saying next generation of Nintendo Switch, they just go coming to Switch and silhouette ? Done. 2024. And everyone's like, what? Did they just show the silhouette of the new system? Whoa.
And I think that would make more sense. I mean, in terms of doing a tease like first of all, both Nate and I don't think this is happening.
No,
right? No.
I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be there at all, but it would be nice.
I think something's going to be there.
I will say this: when Nintendo knows they're going to win a major award, they tend to bring something. So
could be the Zelda remake.
Well, here we go. You know what? I would love it. So let's go.
I don't think the Zelda remake's coming. This hypothetical Zelda remake, I don't think it would come out next year.
Sure.
We got too much other stuff to play. I think they'll save that, but I just think that Nintendo has to give us something. else.
I think that I will say this. I do think that Nintendo's going to have something at the Game Awards. I do agree with that. Even if it's a trailer for a game that's already out, it'll be a new trailer, or a game that's already being teased. It could be a new
like
trailer.
Metroid Prime 4.
Hey, yeah, I'll say this: if they want to tease their next movie, it's a great audience to do it with. They
Zelda
show a lot of
movie.
Yeah, they do a lot of video game movies there.
Well, has
Um,
have we got any news of the strike? Is that over yet?
Eric was just talking about it. The writer, I think the writer strike's
Writers.
over, and they actually got a killer deal. Good for them.
Yeah.
I'm really glad they held out.
And then SAG is they're in
yeah.
talks right now.
Yeah,
and
the actors,
I don't know if it's good
it's
or
not as
but
far along, obviously, but it's. I would say by the end of the year, I think both strikes will be done. The writer one's already over. The actors one is probably going to be over. I'd say in a couple months. So that's the way it's kind of looking. So I think that's actually good because I also think a lot of these places that have all the movies and shows know we only have a finite amount pre-done. We need to get people back to work, and that's so. So and the fact the writers gave in, I mean, the actors are going to give in. They're just going to give in when they get a comparable deal, and I think they can now point to the writers' deal and go, "See that? Yeah,
A Zelda movie announcement at the Game Awards, with Tears of the Kingdom having a nomination.
yeah." They don't even have to, guys. They don't even have to. They don't have to be nothing done for it. They could just say,
Mhm.
"Legend of Zelda movie now in production."
I'm getting hard just thinking about it.
That's all they would have to do. They would just have to tease that it's even being made,
You know
and
what
that
also
would
be
get people to
crazy?
go nuts.
I would love for them to tease me.
What if they pull a Miles Morales for Tears of the Kingdom? And that's the real reason there's no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. Like it's a
I don't think they
standalone.
would have said that if they were doing something like that.
What would they have said?
I
The
don't think they
implications.
would have commented until they were ready to drop that
Yeah.
information.
Okay. For Eric and everyone in the audience, clarify what you mean by the Miles Morales reference, because I don't know if all the Nintendo fans get it.
I'm talking about a Switch 2 exclusive standalone title that's built off the Tears of the Kingdom engine.
But Miles Morales wasn't exclusive.
That would be the difference.
Oh, okay.
But
Wait.
it's the best.
They didn't. Miles Morales wasn't on PS4, was it?
I think we just had this debate last week, and it was.
Oh,
But I'll look.
I'm not trying to have a debate. I genuinely can't remember.
The main point is that they made another game.
Yes,
They
it's
wasn't-
on PS4. Yep.
They made another game that was part of the launch window for the next system that was based off a bigger game. It was just it was just almost like an episodic piece.
It was a 6-hour long game too.
Yeah,
That's
like
how
what if
long
they
it took
did
to beat.
something
It was fun.
like
It was perfect for me.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
loved
in
it.
the case of a something like this done for Tears of the Kingdom would be bigger, right? Because Spider-Man's not as big as Zelda in terms of like gameplay length, but like for maybe more like a 10 to 20 hour experience or what have you. But you know, that I think I just think there's gotta be something Zelda
Kind of like
early on
what
Switch 2.
kind of like what Bowser's Fury was.
Yeah, a
With 3D
Bowser's
World.
Fury-esque is another good way, but that came packaged with a game already, but something like that.
Right.
So you don't think a 3D Mario is good enough?
What are you talking about?
Because he's saying we need something Zelda at launch is basically what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
I think 3 Mario is not good enough.
Because I
think
think
it's good
I
enough.
think if
But
they
I think it might be
I
cool
think
to
if they
announce.
flopped Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, I think Switch would have been just as successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been fine.
I mean, Odyssey sold incredible,
Yeah,
especially that first year.
no, it would have been fine. I guess I'm also just thinking about things that could show off at the Game Awards. Of course, if it was at the Game Awards, I think it would then imply.
Yeah,
that
you're
it would
thinking
come to
of something
Switch.
related to Zelda because it might win
Yeah.
Game of the Year. Yeah.
Yeah, but the idea just kind of came up, and maybe it would still come to Switch, right?
I
But
got
it
a
wouldn't.
question
It
for
wouldn't
you
be
guys.
DLC technically.
What year do you think they announced, or what year do you think they will end up coming out with the next Animal Crossing? I think they're gonna want a big install base, wait for a few more years, and then when those people start getting that itch again, drop it. But what do you think that perfect time is?
I think it's
2026.
Ooh, that's sooner than
Sorry, I
expected.
didn't. Wait, what did you say, Nate?
I was gonna say 2028. He said 2026.
Okay, and Andres, what'd you say?
2026.
I like 2026 more than 2028.
I want
But I
to point
could-
out
I
that
could
we're not
see
going to have
that
a
whole
major
range.
Zelda. We're not going to have a major Zelda for a long time. So
2028. I think they both
Uh,
come out the same year.
you think Zelda comes out 2028?
Yeah. I think it's good.
Those are their two most evergreen selling games on the Switch, basically, besides Mario.
Whoa,
Kart.
we have to
Mario
wait 5.
Kart.
Wait. We have to wait.
I said
4
besides. Hey, keep it clean. That's what
I'm
I
just coming
said.
at me because I'm saying it's going to be a shorter wait till the next Zelda game than it was the Tears.
No,
of the
I
Kingdom.
think
I
I'm
don't
actually
think they
just
would put
thinking
two
more
games
about how
like that
long you're gonna make.
in the same year.
What are you talking about?
Like,
Yeah,
I don't
they
think they
can.
would drop two like evergreen, like two of the best selling games on what was
Breath of the
Switch. I
Wild,
don't think they
Mario
would.
Odyssey, Mario Kart were all same year.
Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder,
Yeah, Mario Wonder is going to sell huge.
Yeah, I don't know.
Smash,
Pokemon Smash Bros.
Let's Go.
It's
were a month
Mario
apart.
Wonder's not going to sell as well as Animal Crossing. It's different. I mean, I think games like that.
Tears of the Kingdom is not going to sell as well as Animal Crossing either. I don't know.
I mean, first of all, I think Animal Crossing New Horizons is a very unique situation because of the pandemic. There's no guarantee that the next Animal Crossing will sell over 30 million.
I think it's sell over 20 if
Yeah,
the system's
I think that
successful.
changed the franchise forever.
Well, I'd argue that the one before it, New Leaf, when it cracked 11 million,
They were already
it was already
on the up and up
trending up.
already.
Yeah, it was already trending.
Yeah.
Up. Now,
I mean,
obviously, Animal
30
Crossing.
I think that
huge.
did change it forever, and I think this changed it forever again.
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
because I
so
mean, Tears of the Kingdom
new
is
level.
showing very similar levels of
I think
Yeah.
it just.
success.
I think.
And what if the next Mario Kart
a
sells
New Leaf
80
came
million
out, and
now? Like-
all of a sudden the floor for Animal Crossing games was up here, and then New Horizons came
Now-
out, and I think the floor is now up here.
Yeah, I mean, I literally just said I think it's going to sell at least 20 million.
I wanna
That's already a
clarify,
high- That's already
I-
a higher floor. Yeah.
I think 3D Mario is at least a launch. It's a year one Switch 2 title. Maybe it's a launch day title.
It feels like it has to be, man. We haven't had a 3D Mario since 2017. It would have way longer.
They may want to pivot. The reason why I suggest 3D Mario might not be a day one Switch 2 title is just because they may want to use it as like the big holiday title that's a Switch 2 exclusive.
Mario Kart.
I don't think Mario Kart's coming out that soon, but
We haven't had a new Mario Kart since 2014. I know you guys can count Tour. You can count obviously the home.
there's a lot of debate. We could debate the details of that.
You say
a
Mario
lot.
Kart 8.
All right,
Hey,
we'll do that next week. I promise.
I think Mario Kart Switch 2 is coming out 2025, and I think it could come out in the first 6 months, maybe. Like I think it's coming out soon. I just don't think it's that.
Well, that's
soon.
what I'm saying. That like I think so my thought with Mario Kart, and I'm just basing this on Nintendo looking at what happened with Switch. You want, and actually they did this with 3DS. You want it out early in the life cycle because it is the evergreen of evergreen for them. It sells every year.
Year one.
Yeah, you want it out basically as soon as you can get it out. So my thought process is, if it launches in September, you could literally have 3D Mario then, and then in November you could have Mario Kart, which is just 3 months later. I don't think it's that like far fetched, and they love Mario Kart for holidays. Mario Kart does incredible during holiday seasons. So like I could see where they would be like, no, that's the key. We hit Mario hard again, and in between there'll be something else. I don't know if it's Metro Prime 4 or what other game they slot in between them. I have no idea.
4 would be good.
Yeah, because it could be an October game or something.
Especially if it has online multiplayer.
Because hey, Dread did really well in October, so you're like, oh, let's drop Metro Prime 4 in October. That could be really well. And online multiplayer too. So you got an online multiplayer game.
We're making leaps.
Yeah, we're making leaps, but I think they're gonna have a huge, strong lineup like they did year one for Switch, and I think that you could do Mario with a Mario.
Why do you
Kart
think they're
in the
gonna
first
wait
3
5 years to release a new Animal Crossing?
I don't think that
4
team
years, I guess.
I don't think that team is currently working on Animal Crossing right now. That's why. I don't think they're currently working on it. Got to remember that team also worked on other franchises that I think they're currently working on and will have out in the first year of the platform, and then they'll start working on the next Animal Crossing.
Well, didn't they just put out Splatoon 3?
They did. Is that the same team? I can't remember.
I believe it
What
is.
teams? Because I know the Mario Kart team also works on other stuff too. I can't remember which teams.
Mario Kart.
But yeah, I think it's Splatoon.
The
Splatoon is the
EPD
one.
team
Yeah.
works on Mario Kart and ARMS. I think the Splatoon team is the same team behind
Animal Crossing. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Because here's the thing. I know that you can say Splatoon 3 came out, so now they're working on Animal
Also,
Crossing.
there can be more. There's different. Like, it's not always that clear cut. It's not like, oh, this one studio is working on this one game.
At Nintendo, it's definitely never that clear cut. They're always crossing their teams over and stuff. There's only like a few specific teams that we know, like this is all they do. Like the Zelda team, they only make Zelda. They don't do anything else. They're just Zelda. But there's very few teams at Nintendo that are literally, this is just all we do. But the reason for that is because Zelda takes such a large team and so many years to make. So like it's not because they're not working. They're already working on the next one. Like it's not because they're not doing anything.
So I just confirmed Nintendo EPG Group 5.
Group 5, yeah.
Made Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
Then 3 years later came with Animal Crossing New Horizons. Early 20, about 3 years later. And then in 2020.
My thought is that they're going to be working on a 4K port of Splatoon 3 with an extra DLC pack for year 1.
There's no way that's the only thing they come out with between 2022 and 2028.
It was 8 years between Animal Crossing games. What are we talking about?
Not if you count Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which they did develop.
No, how's it called? An Amiibo Festival while we're at it too, huh?
How about Animal Crossing Plaza?
There we go. Yeah, let's just count all those little spin-offs. Okay, fine. Yeah. If you're going to say there's going to be some spin-off Animal Crossing thing, sure.
No, I'm just saying maybe 3 years later.
Happy Home Designer, a new one.
Listen.
I know what you're saying. It would make sense that they just got done with Splatoon 3 and they're finishing up the DLC for that.
Every
and when they're done with that, they
2
work on
or
Animal
3. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Can I screen share?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where you're getting 8 years in between Animal Crossing games.
When did Animal Crossing New Leaf come out?
2013.
New Leaf 2016, and then New Horizons
Oh,
is
I'm confusing
2020.
it with you.
That's 4.
7
It's
years.
not 8.
New Leaf was 2016.
Yeah.
No. All right, hold on. Let me just show you the list.
Welcome,
Let me
Nemo.
show you a list.
Sorry.
All right.
No, I was I'm pretty sure it was in 2016.
That was the updated version.
All right. Let me know when this is visible.
Sorry, that was Welcome Amiibo.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, there's no way it was in 2016.
Are you guys watching this yet or no?
No, I'll add it right now. Here we go.
Okay. So EPT Group 5, right?
Yep.
Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, 2-year gap. Then Splatoon 2 is 3 years beforehand, right?
Yeah.
And then Happy Home Designer in 2015, Wii Sports Club, Animal Crossing Plaza. Yes, these are like smaller Animal Crossing offerings, but I get that. But yeah, New Leaf was a 2012 game.
Yeah, so 8 years
that is
until the new one. Yeah.
That is an 8-year
Well, not
gap.
really. I mean, they were working on that up through when the Welcome Amiibo, when they added Amiibo support and added all that stuff to the game, they had still been working on that. And that was 2016.
But I mean, but I guess the main point though is you look at the release of games, like they've released significant games. The Nintendo Land came out the same year, right? Like they can have
it
more
sort
than
of
one
suggests
game
there's multiple teams within the group.
within this group, within this EPG group, right? And so the point is that I just think it's I think expecting just a graphics update for Splatoon 3 between 2022
I said there could be some smaller games.
There
could be smaller games.
Well,
they could have a Nintendo.
they were not
Land
making small games
or-
during the Switch era. I don't think they're gonna make. I think they're gonna just come out with bangers, bro. I think Animal Crossing is coming out. Maybe 2025. Maybe they're gonna get it out real soon. 5 years after New Horizons isn't like a crazy thing.
No, it's not crazy.
It's not. I think it would behoove.
It's possible. I'm sticking with 2028, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We don't know. We're just guessing. But
Yeah.
I just think that they're working on other stuff is what I'm trying to indicate. That like Animal Crossing isn't the focus at the moment. It will become a focus once the new system comes out, which then they need 3 to 4 years to make.
We don't know what they're working on, so they could be focusing on the next Animal Crossing because
and
they
for
know.
all,
the next
and for
version's
all we
coming.
know, they don't plan to port Splatoon 3. Instead, they want Splatoon 4.
Here's something else I want to throw out there. Okay,
Get that
If-
Japanese audience.
Tears of the Kingdom just released.
Mhm.
Splatoon 3 came out last year. Those are 2 huge games that are evergreen, huge evergreen series that were really pivotal in the success of Switch in the first year, and neither are going to be available at the beginning of Switch 2's era. So I think, if anything, that places more emphasis on other big IP like Animal Crossing to come out earlier. And that's another reason why I suggest 2026, but I'm now kind of like talking like myself up to 2025.
to 2025, yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be like
I think
almost within the
2026
first year.
feels better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? We don't really know. But it's interesting thought process, when we get into potential launch lineups and that kind of stuff. Jake, what's your thoughts on any of this Furukawa stuff? And we'll briefly touch on the weird Dash Weedle stuff.
For the Furukawa stuff, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I have any more to add to all the conversations and everything we've discussed already.
Same old, same old.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was obviously talking to you guys about it, but like I pretty much had the same take you guys do.
Okay.
On the significance and everything like that.
So it's all over.
It's all over.
World's ending.
So for the last bit
Well-
here, there was some rumors for Nash Weedle. He claims the information comes out of Tokyo Game Show. And for those who don't know who Nash Weedle is, it's all right. We don't cover him that often, especially on our podcast. But he was one that gained notoriety because he talked about Metroid Dread before Metroid Dread was revealed, before we even knew it was a thing. He talked about it and said it was coming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People have claimed who are against him that he stole that rumor from somewhere else. Andres, have you done additional research into it? Because I know I did with the YouTuber they said did it. I reached out to the YouTuber and he said that the information didn't come from him. So,
How did you phrase that question? Because
I said, hey, I'm just curious. Did you have your own sources on this? Because your video came out the day after Nash Weedle stuff. And he said, no, I just saw stuff on social media, made a video. So that would indicate that social media stuff might have been Nash Weedle.
he just decided to talk about it because
yeah,
buzz.
like he's like
buzz,
us. He was like us. He was just talking about
the
it,
buzz may have been stirred.
Yeah,
by that.
So he was talking about it like we do, basically. That was what I was indicating. Again, there was a language barrier.
I haven't had the opportunity to do some extensive research on this yet. So I don't want to say this with significant confidence. But I do have a bit of a sense, and again, I'm not even sure if I should say this, but I kind of get the sense that there are people that just want to shut him down and don't actually have any solid evidence to shut him down. That doesn't mean what he's saying is legitimate.
No,
I just haven't seen anything that does.
I will
shut
say
him down.
There are this is the weird thing. I don't know how much the general public here pays attention to the leak culture out there around video games, especially with Nintendo. There seems to be certain cliques that form among the fan base, and anyone outside of that clique, they always want to be like, "You're not real. That's not legit." Until it's something that's completely undeniable. Like, why is Pioro now worshipped like a god of leakers? Because the stuff he did is undeniable. It's undeniable. He did it for 2 straight Nintendo Directs. It's undeniable at this point.
And I don't get the sense he's a part of any clique.
Yeah, no, he doesn't seem to care, right? He'll call out fake leakers all day. He'll call it, but he never.
If there's any clique, it's him and Silex Hunter.
Yeah, Silex Hunter and him, and those two.
They probably have coffee like once a week, and just they don't post on social media. It's like every few months they just. Yeah.
Who are the people that he called out and said delete your account? Okay, Jonathan Bark and all of his obviously fake stuff was switched to, and then called out new Marco Maro or whatever, right? Saying that he's just full of shit, which most of us have already figured out that he's full of shit. One, all the stuff he said for the Direct didn't even happen. So yeah, he's clearly full of shit. But what's interesting is he never called out Nash Weedle. Interesting that he'll call out all these
called out Zippo either.
No, I don't know that he's ever called out Zippo. Now, to be fair, he was only calling out people on Twitter. Nash Weedle is on Twitter. So it's kind of interesting that there was no call out by Pioro that he's
Nash Weedle's not in English.
No, and Nash Weedle wasn't doing leaks for a Direct. So there is that.
Yeah.
Nash Weedle, here's the thing. We don't, as people that talk about news sometimes, I mean, Andres, sometimes that's what I talk about. The best we can do when we're talking about this stuff is look at the available information and be impartial on it. I can't be like Nash Weedle's fake when I see nothing that proves that he's actually fake just because some people want him to be. I've never seen Nate the Hate speak bad about him. I've never seen any of the other insiders speak bad about him. It's just people who aren't insiders that for some reason don't want him to be real. I don't know why. I don't know what the agenda is. Maybe there's some controversy he spun up in some Spanish forum or something that has people all mad about it. I don't know. Portuguese, sorry, somewhere, whatever. I don't know. But my thing with it is I can only look at the available information, and he's been right on some stuff, some very specific things in the past, and I can't seem to source those things to anyone before him. That being also,
because it's in another language too.
Yeah, and that too. There's a language, especially for me, huge language. I only know English. Everything else is a language barrier for me. And so
even if something's in Spanish, I speak Spanish, but my Spanish isn't perfect. But also, if it's Spain Spanish, it's not the same as Latin American Spanish.
Yeah.
And
like American
if it's
English
Portuguese, which is an entirely different language.
Yeah. Had some roots, but it's still,
think it's Spanish, but then you're like, well, I can't understand what I'm reading. Therefore, it's not actually Spanish.
Because I think Portuguese has its roots in Spanish, but then obviously went off on its own.
Yeah.
Anyways, so just to preface all this, we don't know if any of this is real. We just can't disprove it. But what's interesting is most of the stuff he said is stuff that you could probably assume anyways. But it's cool because it's from Tokyo Game Show, supposedly. And we were suspecting this week.
Like a red flag to me.
Yeah, it does feel like this week, next week, sometime this month, we're going to get something out of Tokyo Game Show like we did out of Gamescom. What reporter is going to be the first one to break a story? It was Video Game Chronicle last time. Are they going to be the first one to break again? I don't know. But what he put out there is basically some stuff that I think is safe to assume, and kind of believable that maybe depending on who his contact talked to could hear about. As an example, his contact that he claims played the Mario Wonder demo. Totally believable. The Mario Wonder demo was there behind the scenes. Totally believable that was a thing. Because they've been bringing that demo everywhere from behind the scenes.
Wasn't it there in front of the scenes? I didn't.
There already was in front of the scenes. Yes, there already has been in front of the scenes stuff. Yeah. But Nintendo doesn't have a show floor presence.
There was some sort of talk with devs about stuff.
Yeah, there was some talk, and so the inference was that some of the devs got to try out Mario Wonder while they were there. And I sort of heard from one of the Nintendo reps there that Mario Wonder is going to be a saga, which is just saying there's going to be more Mario Wonder games in the future. Sort of like they did with New Super Mario Bros. Sort of like they did with Super Mario when we had multiple of those. So it's a pretty safe thing that if Mario Wonder is successful, and we all presume it will be, there'll be a Mario Wonder 2, 3, or whatever they want to call it. So that's not really like crazy to think about because that's what they've always done besides rolling Mario. But hey, we technically don't have that indicator. And I guess the big indicator was there was a lot of ideas cut from the game that they're going to use in the future. Which makes sense. We already heard an interview where they had like thousands of ideas for Wonder Flower stuff. Obviously, they didn't all make it into the game. The other thing he said is that Panic Button is now working on Switch 2 ports. Talked to a developer about, hey, are you guys like bringing your game to Switch 2? Developer's like, oh, we already got Panic Button working on it. That was it. Okay, cool. Like Panic Button ported a lot of major third-party games to Nintendo Switch early in the Switch's life cycle, even Doom as an example. So it would be believable that they could be one of the port companies to have an early dev kit because they obviously had a dev kit for Switch so they can get Doom over. So clearly they could be potentially one of the studios that could have a dev kit. And then what was the other thing he said? He said, that some of the people there, I'm presuming Nintendo employees, mentioned that they've seen Metroid Prime 4 and that they were planning the marketing stages behind the scenes, which would, if you want to get technical, would sort of support what we heard earlier this year that the game was basically done. So it would make a lot of sense if they're planning the marketing. Does that mean they're going to reveal it Game Awards? Does it mean they're going to reveal it next year, early next year? I had no idea. But it would mean that the game is finished. And so now they're just like, oh, how are we going to market this? What are we going to do? Let's map this all out. Could be anything. And then maybe the most interesting part was that Xbox employees were at Nintendo's thing, and they really loved the system, and they were surprised at how powerful it was. And they're like, dude, this thing's going to get everything. Which I found that to be, that's your competition. So like that's really interesting to hear the competition. And by the way, Xbox has never been shy of praising Nintendo's handheld. But it's very, except for Aaron Greenberg, wanted them to stop calling it a console behind the scenes. But you know what? Phil Spencer said bunk that and kept doing it anyways. It's interesting that that's maybe the most fascinating part is like, hey, if this is true, it's kind of neat to see a competitor be like, hey, this is awesome. And also would show that Nintendo and Xbox operate completely different from Sony. Because Sony during the FTC versus Microsoft thing was like, yeah, we're not going to give you dev units. And Xbox is like, why? Trade secrets. Oh, okay. Every Xbox is a dev unit, by the way. Every Xbox Series is a dev unit. You don't like if you guys want a dev unit of Xbox, just go buy an Xbox Series X. You have a dev unit. You pay like $20 to unlock it. That's it. It's crazy.
I think it's monthly though, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I can't remember if it's monthly or not, but either way, the point is that it is that every Xbox Series X can be a dev unit. So it's like they're not hiding the dev. Anyone can have it. And Nintendo, obviously being in its way, is buddy with Microsoft. They're clearly going to give Microsoft dev units. They have example. Minecraft is one of the best selling games on Switch. They're going to have a dev unit to make a Switch 2 version of Minecraft. It's just going to happen. I don't think Nintendo's worried that
with
Microsoft
ray
is
tracing.
that Microsoft
And HDR.
Yeah, that's true. It could have ray tracing in HDR.
In 4K, maybe at 120 FPS.
Well, I don't know about 120.
Well, yeah,
We'll
I
see.
don't know. That DLSS 3.
It comes down to whether they even
One.
have a support for a 120 at all. I don't even think they're going to worry about 120, but maybe they will. I have no idea. The point is,
Are there
that
any PS5 games that do 120 FPS?
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
Yeah.
But you
but
mean
beyond-
4K?
I'm just saying have the option to do 120 FPS regardless of resolution.
Oh yeah, tons.
Yeah.
Then why can't they do that on Twitch too?
they could. I just don't think they will.
They might.
It is a less powerful system, so. But sort of.
One
now
time
we get the
fee of
DLSS.
$19.
Okay, there you go. So
for
they go
dev mode.
one-time fee. All right. That doesn't include like publishing fees and everything else that you have to obviously pay to actually publish something.
I think you need HDMI 2.1 to hit 120
Yeah.
on a TV.
Yeah. It can't just be 2.0. What's interesting too is Xbox, another reason they would obviously get dev units from Nintendo wouldn't give a shit is they have a 10-year contract for Call of Duty. So like as soon as that shit's finalized in October, Activision Blizzard's going to get dev units to start working on next year's Call of Duty for it. So
Why can't they already be working on it?
they might already be. The fact that this deal is probably like a for sure done thing. They might already have dev units for next year's.
Is it not possible that they were working on it before the deal anyway?
I don't know because Activision never committed to Switch, and I know Bobby Kotick said
but we're
that they
talking
admit
about
it was a
Switch too.
mistake. But
And obviously they were in talks as of like a while ago from the emails. So.
I will say this: when it comes out of Bobby Kotick's mouth, I trust nothing. So I trust the contract signed, and I will believe it once the deal's finalized. You know what I mean? You're probably right, but also once the deal's finalized, there's no reason not to have dev units. Then
It also won't take them that long to get it running.
yeah. Well, we don't actually know that. We have no idea. We're not developers.
Well,
We think it won't.
from
take
what
long,
we've
but we don't
heard,
know.
we've heard,
To understand though, it's completely different technology than what like maybe porting isn't as simple as we make it out to be because it is not AMD. This technology is different. It's a different processor. It's not Intel or AMD, it's ARM. So I don't want to like presume it's just throw the game at it and it just works.
Man, I'm just getting excited.
Yeah, I know. Dude, we're still like
I'm
think
just
about
thinking
this.
I'm thinking about playing a new Monster Hunter.
Andres, we didn't know each other heading into Switch existing.
Nope.
I had no online friends heading into Switch existing.
I had hope.
And now I got the fam here. This is like the little podcast family heading into launch of a new system, and that's exciting to me.
Well, we'll see what happens. It might be a year, more than a year away.
Of course, I don't know if I'm that excited because apparently there's only 3 of us playing Mario Wonder. So by the way, guys, when we play Mario Wonder on the podcast, we will have topics we're talking about. We're just sort of playing it while we're doing it and having fun. We'll
It's
probably
kind
be
of
talking
awkward because we have a podcast on the 19th and then it comes out the next day.
I know.
And so it's a week later.
By that
comes
point, we'll
out the
be
next day.
masters.
Wait, you said it comes out the next day, so it's a week later.
So
Well-
we will be back on a week.
A week
later.
later. Or
Correct.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it'll be the following week. So
Unless we
that
do the
properly.
podcast all the way until midnight.
You don't even have to go till midnight. Digital version's available at like 9.
Is it?
Yeah, something like
Then
that.
technically, we could do it on
Yeah, it would be towards the end of the show.
It would be like towards right now.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
midnight.
yeah. Oh, yeah, because I thought I don't know. I'll have to double check my next digital
Because
purchase.
they
when
go
it
by
becomes
they go by
available.
Eastern because it's the last time zone to switch. Or no, it's the first.
I was gonna be like, it ain't
Strike
the
that.
last.
Reverse it.
I was gonna say it's only like 9 o'clock right now out
Yeah.
on the other coast.
Yeah. That's what I
Anyways.
meant.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure all that out. I gotta figure that out soon next year because I'm trying to think. We do have a podcast on the 19th technically with RGT coming out, so we probably won't do it on that show. Probably on the next one then. But that's okay. That also gives us time to familiarize ourselves with the game before we play. And then you know what that could be? That could be our Mario Wonder impression episode, and we can literally play the game while giving impressions. That actually might work out pretty.
See this? I can't bonk anyone's head. This is trash.
I'm just saying that that actually
can.
that actually will make sense then because we could do an impression episode knowing we're all playing the game and then we can play it together while we talk about it. That makes sense actually. So cool. It actually works out. RGT. Yeah, so I'm allowed to swear. Who said you can't fucking swear?
Wait, we're allowed to swear?
Oh,
Yeah, what
fuck.
the fuck?
What the hell?
It's just more funny when I go
Jizz. Horsecock. Big fat load of cum.
Leave the horse.
Sorry. Look, Andres,
I'm
Barking
never not
hell.
allowed
Andres,
swearing on my
this is-
podcast.
you're allowed.
Swearing's
to
always
swear.
been allowed.
I'm saying big fat load of cum and horsecock, and you're getting mad. Do you see where
Bunch
I'm
of
like,
bullocks. It's a bunch of bullocks.
somewhere our wires got crossed?
Ooh, yeah.
Somewhere. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for episode 40 of the Nintendo Prime podcast. I do want to thank all of you guys for being here. You can get the podcast anywhere podcasts are heard. I've actually been getting the audio versions up, so this one will be going up on time, so that's really cool. Before we got out, though, we got to go around the room. Where can people find you? Eric, we'll start with you quick because you're the simplest one.
Right here.
Right here. Every Wednesday except October 19th, which is a Thursday because we're moving it for to get RGT on because, look, dude, apparently AEW wrestling is more
The
important than
world
us.
revolves around Sean.
Yeah, it revolves on Sean, apparently. So it's going to be, I think there'll be some fireworks on that show. You know what's funny? I don't know if I was going to say this out right now. You know, the one request he had for the episode, the Andres restart is there. And I don't know why. He wanted Andres restart. I was like, I've never talked to him. Please tell me he's going to be on. I'm like, dude, he's on every week.
Mhm.
I don't know what he wants to talk to you about, but remember, he's
I'm
not a
bringing
Nintendo
popcorn
YouTuber. So
next
I don't know
week,
what he's
boys.
doing. Dude, you and him, I might need popcorn for you and him if something happens. I don't know what's going to go on. Dude, for those who don't know, RGT85 never had a conversation with him. He's like a no holds bar kind of guy. It's just going to go. It's going to go where it's going to go. And you just go with the flow.
Guess I'm famous.
I have no idea what the topics are going to be yet. It's too far away. But anyways, Jake, where can they find you, Mr. Harry Cox?
Thank you. I was gonna say that's not my name, but you got it. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube as Jake Randall, which I just typed in my chat. I don't know why I use that name instead of Harry Cox or Keep It Clean Guy or 2-Inch Destroyer, but I just made a YouTube account too long ago.
YouTube might not allow those usernames. That could be why.
Why would they not allow that's a real name?
Yeah, YouTube.
And 2-Inch Destroyer, that doesn't mean anything bad.
I mean, interpretations. Inference.
Yeah, well, that's anything. People could interpret Jake Randall to be bad or Nintendo Prime, you know?
I'm not so sure that they would interpret those to be bad, but
yeah, anyways, that's where you can find me, guys. Much love.
awesome. Andres Restart, where can they find you?
Andres Restart. That's where you find me.
That's right. Just
That
type it in. It's all his stuff that shows up, no matter where you search it.
Yep.
So
Yep. There's no scandals, no scams. Just me
he
talking about Nintendo.
keeps it real clean.
He
There
does
ain't-
keep it
other
clean.
example,
Yeah.
you watch his podcast, there's no swearing on his show, really.
I might say crap.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's
there's
right.
No,
I
there's
was
no
gonna say,
swearing
oh
here.
no,
right.
he's crossing
We
a
keep it
line.
clean. We
Yeah.
keep it clean here. There's no swearing.
Yeah, and
ever.
he's like,
Darn you.
I would say I'll just be Star Channel's family friendly. So you guys enjoy
I
it.
don't. I do
all
not. I do
ages.
not market myself as family friendly.
No, you do not, but you don't swear and you don't talk sex and you don't really you just talk video
Usually.
games.
If you've ever seen
Wait a
someone,
second.
YouTube
Has there
channel
been a
with
drunk
scams,
stream I've
that's
missed?
not keeping
Because
it
I would
clean.
love to see an Andres
Andres
restart drunk
is
stream
keeping it
just
clean.
once.
The thing
Just
is,
once.
you. I thought about doing the drunk thing, but it's something you already do. So I'm like,
No,
The what
no. Here's the thing.
Eh.
You don't do it. You don't do it. See, mine's every night stream. I'll do shots for super chats. You don't worry about that. You just make it a special thing that only happens like once a month.
Let's
Yeah.
make Andres.
Because you know what's going to
streams on
happen.
these.
I'll show up. I'll tell you what. You'll make extra money off me that month.
I should play
Dude, I'll
F-Zero
show up.
99. Every time I lose, I take a
Guys,
shot.
When we do the Mario Wonder episode, we're all taking mushrooms.
Which
those
will be
those
every
games
single
go.
time.
Yeah, those games go so fast too. There'll be so many
The
shots.
stream will end in 30 minutes.
Dude, that'd be hilarious. See, the reason say
Might be a
it,
good idea.
you could do shots for super chats though, because that also helps drive a little revenue too. So, and if you do it once a month, it's more special. So those nights might become like really big nights. They can really help boost your income too. Because you know what? I'll tell you what. I might throw a hundo at you the first time because like I got to see it. I got to see what happens.
Keep it in my back pocket. Like, oh, revenue short this month. Time to get blasted. But the thing is, I'll waste so much alcohol. I'll waste so much alcohol that it'll be a loss.
What? How would it be a loss?
Eh.
If you're doing dollar shots, I guess, but dude, mine are like 5, 10, 20, 50 in hundo. Like it's impossible to lose money then.
What are those TikTok videos where people get tips and they just go bubble gum, spank?
Oh, those are
Gum,
Avatar.
NPC shit.
Avatar NPC thing, yeah.
Hate that stuff.
No,
Yeah.
it's so dumb. Ice cream, yum. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
I want to slap your face.
See, Birdman's
When I,
right.
when I drop the slap
Birdman's
emoji, slap your face.
If you
right
watch
now.
if you watch the dubious food video, I dropped a curse word in there because I was like, "What is this
You
shit?"
You did.
Man,
Yeah.
we really went full
Yeah.
circle tonight.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the Turner Pride podcast. We have a little outro.
Hey,
Peace out.
finally. Later.